comic enthusiasts. Welcome back to HC Comics, your gateway to the colorful and captivating world of comics. Today, we're embarking on the next exciting chapter of this comic series together. Wishing you all some relaxing moments as we dive into HC Comics adventure. Returning to the main developments of the story, in this episode, we start with the scene.
In the previous episode, we saw how after drinking Seojun's special juice, the queen bee became pregnant and gave Seojun her cocoon. And because of the fight between Theo and the baby bear, the mommy bear came angrily, giving Theo a death stare. Theo, looking like he might pee himself at any moment, nervously greeted the mommy bear. He introduced himself as Theo, a wandering merchant. With a shaky voice, he showed his wandering merchant badge, hoping that upon seeing it, the mother bear might spare him. He continued, still with his shaky voice, explaining that he believed there had been a small misunderstanding with the baby bear. However, in response, the mommy bear growled loudly, and a powerful gust of wind nearly knocked Theo off his feet, leaving him barely standing in front of the mommy bear. As the bear's growls stopped, Theo found himself on his knees. Seojun and the other rabbits stood beside Theo, holding their ears, still affected by the bear's roar. Theo had tears in his eyes, crying in fear as he sincerely apologized. He promised that he and her baby bear would not fight anymore, and he is truly very sorry. Now seeing the situation getting out of control, Seojun stepped in between and tried to calm things down. He explained that it was just a little argument, and nothing serious had happened. Her baby wasn't hurt. It was just a harmless little fight. Theo, still trembling with fear, remained on the ground. Hearing Seojun's explanation, the mama bear stared at him for a while with a deadly looks. Then, she let out a heavy breath and turned to move back into the jungle. Seojun and Theo, still scared and in a state of panic, watched her go. As the bear left, Seojun let out a sigh of relief. He admitted that he thought they were in real danger today. The white rabbits huddled together for comfort. While Theo was still crying, his sobs interrupted by hiccups. Seeing Theo in this state, Seojun adopted a caring tone. He held Theo and asked if he was all right, urging him to calm down as the mama bear had left. Theo slowly wiped his tears and managed to say thank you to Seojun, his hiccups persisting like a little child. Then Seojun gently held Theo and placed him on his lap, cradling him like a baby. He apologized sincerely, expressing regret that if he had informed Theo about the mama bear, this whole frightening situation might have been avoided. But Theo was still crying, his sobs punctuated by continuous hiccups, and he covered his eyes with his paws. The other rabbit sat beside Theo, watching him with sad expressions. To comfort Theo, the warrior rabbit began to lick him gently. For a moment, Theo stopped crying, surprised by the unexpected comfort. Then the other rabbits joined in, licking and tickling Theo. Slowly, Theo's sobs subsided, and he finally stopped crying as the tickling made him giggle. From a distance, the baby bear watched as all the rabbits licked and tickled Theo, making him laugh loudly. It was clear that they were all having a wonderful time. However, as the baby bear observed this joyful scene, he suddenly felt a wave of sadness wash over him. He lowered his head, his eyes filled with gloom. Unable to bear seeing Theo so sad, the baby bear approached Seojun and with gentle care started licking Theo as well. It was his way of apologizing for calling his mama earlier, which had frightened Theo. Theo, now smiling a little, told the baby bear that he was also sorry and that they could be good friends from now on. Seojun and the rabbits watched this heartwarming moment with happiness. However, Theo politely asked the baby bear not to eat his treat, explaining that it was very hard to find it, and the baby bear agreed, understanding the importance of Theo's treat. After a while, as everyone calmed down, Seojun spoke up. He said that they were all like a happy big family. As he said this, the rabbits started yawning and were sitting on Seojun's lap and shoulder. Theo rested in Seojun's hand, and Seojun himself sat comfortably on the baby bear's lap. Together, they all yawned, feeling sleepy as they slowly closed their eyes, ready to embrace a peaceful rest. But, due to the commotions, the rabbit couple emerged from their cave. Then, the husband rabbit noticed the straw hat that Theo had brought for Seojun from the lottery shop on the ground. He picked it up happily from Theo's pouch, and the mother rabbit pointed her fingers towards Seojun. As they observed, they saw Seojun and his companions sleeping like newborn babies. Seojun was resting against the baby bear, while Theo lay in Seojun's lap. The warrior rabbit perched on Seojun's shoulder, and the other white rabbit found a cozy spot on the baby bear's stomach. Then, the mother rabbit said something to the husband rabbit, and he gently placed the straw hat on Seojun's head. The hat shielded Seojun's face from the direct sunlight, and as he slept with the hat covering his face, a warm smile graced his lips. Well, seeing this, I myself want to sleep between them. The scene shifts to a different dimension, a galaxy-like expanse with a hovering palace emanating brilliant light. As we draw closer, we witness 4 enormous black dragons encircling a crystal, radiating intense light with lightning bolts flickering around it. There is also a human-like figure close to the crystal. Upon closer inspection, we discern the identity of this being. It was Kaiser Fratani, the grandfather of our tower manager. He appears to be struggling to manipulate the crystal, but suddenly, the crystal's power spirals out of control. In frustration, he shouts, questioning why the portal to the tower is not opening. Then from behind, a calming voice speaks out, urging Kaiser to calm down. It was Anton Fratani, the tower manager's father. But Kaiser didn't calm down. Instead, he raised his voice even more. He expressed his frustration about not being able to see his granddaughter, Aileen, who happens to be the tower manager. In this dire situation, he found it impossible to remain calm. He explained that Aileen was unwell, suffering from regular seizures, and her condition had worsened significantly lately. To find a cure, they had journeyed to other dimensions and galaxies. Finally, they had found a cure, but now they were unable to open the portal back to the tower. Kaiser gazed at the crystal, stating that their only option to return to the tower now was to rely on the emergency system they had installed in the tower. This system could forcefully trigger the portal to open. Until that happened, they were stranded here, anxiously unaware of what was happening to Aileen. Then, Anton replied with a serious expression, explaining that the emergency portal would only trigger when Aileen suffered a seizure. He reassured Kaiser that this was good news, indicating that Aileen was currently okay. He urged Kaiser once more to calm down, assuring him that they would surely find another way to enter the tower. The huge black dragons who had been listening also chimed in. They expressed their understanding of Kaiser's feelings, and Anton continued, elaborating on their concerns for Aileen. He explained that the 99th floor of the tower, where Aileen's cabin was located, was the center of the tower. It had an incredibly dense concentration of mana, and the dragons took turns managing the tower from there, growing stronger in the process. But they had all chosen to give that cabin to Aileen alone, as the dense mana would help Aileen. Now, all the dragons were gathered here for Aileen's sake, to fix Aileen's broken dragon's heart. In response to this heartfelt speech, Kaiser, still annoyed, remarked that even though the dragons had strong feelings for Aileen, the reality was that they were stuck in this dimension, unable to do anything about it. Maintaining his serious expression, Anton replied that he understood what Kaiser wanted to say. He addressed Kaiser as father and emphasized that he believed in his daughter Aileen more than anyone else. Then, for the first time, a hint of sadness crossed Anton's face. He knew Aileen was a strong girl and was confident that she was bravely fighting her seizures. Kaiser, listening with a serious expression, responded that if Anton said he would calm down. He then ordered the huge dragons to patrol the area and guard the crystal until the portal opened. The massive black dragons took flight. Now, looking upward, Anton asked Kaiser if something good might have happened to Aileen since it had already passed the expected date for her seizures. They both gazed at the crystal, expressing hope for Aileen's well-being. However, Kaiser couldn't help but worry about whether Aileen was getting enough to eat on the 99th floor, given the limited food available there. Meanwhile, Aileen, our tower manager, was savoring the juicy cherries provided by Seojun. She sat comfortably on a couch with a book in hand, enjoying the moment. Next to her, a bucket made from onion leaves was filled to the brim with cherry tomatoes. With a mischievous smile, the tower manager held up a cherry tomato and commented on its taste. She wondered if the tomato had become even tastier due to its rank increasing from E to D. Before, she needed to fill her mouth with a bunch of cherry tomatoes to experience their sweetness. But now, only a few of them were enough to satisfy her palate. However, as she mused about the tomatoes, an unexpected shock coursed through her. Startled, she dropped the cherry tomato she had been about to eat, a look of surprise on her face. Then, with a curious look on her face, she gently touched her chest. In a hushed tone, she revealed that her dragon heart had never once beaten since the day of her birth. Yet, just moments ago, something incredible had occurred. Her heart had, for a brief second, begun to beat. Not only that, but it had also absorbed mana for a while. This unexpected turn of events left her deep in thought. She wondered how such a thing could be possible. For her entire 200-year existence, she had been ill with a mysterious disease since birth, which caused her heart to stop beating. According to fate, she should have been experiencing seizures and nearing the end of her life. However, to her utter amazement, she was perfectly fine. She found herself in a state of confusion. Then, A realization struck her like a bolt of lightning. Her gaze fell upon the bucket brimming with Seojun's special cherries. She grabbed a handful and examined them closely. It was then that she discovered a hidden ability. Consuming these cherries slightly increased one's mana. Aileen couldn't contain her joy. She had been eating these cherries purely because they tasted incredibly good, but she hadn't expected that they also possessed the power to heal a dragon's dormant heart. Then she began to smile mischievously, saying, "The great black dragon, Aileen Fratani, who was 200 years old, had finally found someone she wanted to smash. She wanted to protect. Even though it was just for a moment, her heart had started beating. Now she was determined to do whatever it took to protect Seojun. She closed her eyes, placing her hands on the crystal ball with pride. She declared that Seojun should feel honored, as it was truly a tremendous blessing that the tower manager liked him. And then she resumed her usual routine of stalking Seojun with her crystal ball. Then, the tower manager urgently tried to wake Seojun up. He slowly opened his eyes, still feeling groggy and sleepy. However, as soon as he saw a system notification right in front of his face, he jolted awake and began shouting in surprise. The tower manager asked Seojun why he had used an unappraised item when she had explicitly warned him about their potential dangers. Still a little disoriented, Seojun was confused about which item the tower manager was referring to. Then he noticed the straw hat on his head. Meanwhile, all his animal companions were still fast asleep, and the husband rabbit had just woken up, rubbing his eyes in confusion. Holding the straw hat in his hands, Seojun couldn't help but wonder how and why Luffy's straw hat had ended up on his head. Then, the husband rabbit approached, holding Theo's bag, and explained that he had found the straw hat in Theo's bag. To protect Seojun's face from the direct sunlight, he had placed it on Seojun's head. Seojun started to think if Theo had brought this item, but Theo, in his deep sleep, was nestled in Seojun's hands, covering his face. He wiggled his tail and curled up, making it clear he didn't want to wake up just yet. Left with no other options, Seojun affectionately scolded Theo for being so obsessed with sleeping. He gently placed Theo on the baby bear's soft, furry belly, allowing him to continue his peaceful slumber. Seojun carefully held the straw hat in his hand and decided to check its status window. The name of the straw hat was Farmer's Straw Hat, and it didn't seem to be anything particularly special. Its grade was marked as D. What caught Seojun's attention were the numerous restrictions associated with its use. It required the wearer to be above level 20, with both strength and stamina also needing to be above 20. Upon seeing this, the tower manager suggested that Seojun appraise the straw hat. Seojun, recalling how she had appraised the dagger earlier, asked if she would appraise the hat in a similar manner. The tower manager confirmed that this would indeed be the case. With that assurance, Seojun handed the straw hat over to the tower manager. As soon as it left his hand, the straw hat disappeared and reappeared in the tower manager's hand. She placed the hat proudly on top of the books, preparing to use her appraisal skill. The tower manager initiated her appraisal skill. Her eyes began to glow with a soft blue light, and a similar blue aura enveloped her. At the same time, the straw hat seemed to float in the air, surrounded by this mystical blue aura. As the appraisal process concluded, the tower manager couldn't contain her laughter. She admitted that she knew the hat was special, but its true nature had exceeded her expectations. Now, back to Seojun. The system notified Seojun that the tower manager had examined the straw hat and was absolutely delighted. She was congratulating Seojun for obtaining an exceptional item. Hearing this, Seojun fell into a moment of silence, contemplating just how incredible this hat must be. Then, a new quest appeared before Seojun. It stated that the tower manager wanted Seojun to promise that he would present her with his special, juicy fruit filled with the energy of the blue moon. In return, he would receive the appraised straw hat. However, there was a catch. If Seojun declined the offer, he would lose the chance to reclaim the straw hat. Now, deep in thought, Seojun realized that the blue moon was just a few days away. He remembered that he had expanded his crop fields, which meant he'd have plenty of juicy fruits filled with the energy of the blue moon. So, making the promise to the tower manager seemed like a manageable task. He assured her that he would deliver his special, energy-packed, juicy fruit, as promised. Then, the system alerted Seojun that Aileen Fratani, the tower manager, wanted him to hold out his pinky finger and make the promise official. She introduced herself, emphasizing how honored Seojun should feel knowing her name. However, Seojun, with a touch of humor, jokingly remarked that he wasn't particularly interested in knowing her name in the first place. This comment seemed to irritate the tower manager. She asked Seojun whether he wanted his straw hat back or not, her excitement growing as she pounded her feet on the floor. She asserted that Seojun would eventually realize how fortunate he was to even know her name. Seeing the tower manager growing agitated, Seojun quickly adopted a more polite tone. He expressed that it was indeed a great honor to know her name. With respect, he raised his hand and extended his pinky finger, solemnly promising to provide his special juicy fruits to the tower manager when he harvested them during the next blue moon. The tower manager's eyes gleamed with excitement as she responded. She mentioned that this was Seojun's first promise to the tower manager. Seojun didn't quite understand what she meant, but through her crystal ball, the tower manager, who also raised her pinky claw, saying, "Yes, our first promise," and with a loving smile, she continued to gaze at Seojun. Then, with a sense of awe, the system notified Seojun that the quest had been successfully completed. The straw hat floated gracefully in mid-air before him. Seojun couldn't contain his excitement as he eagerly checked the status of the straw hat. The system revealed astonishing information. This was no ordinary hat. It was one of the 10 legendary artifacts known as the straw hat. It was originally worn by a farmer named Patrick, revered as a saint for saving countless lives through his farming. The unique feature of this hat was that its abilities and rank would grow alongside its owner, and only those with the farmer job class could utilize its powers. Seojun was left in shock. The term artifact alone implied immense rarity and power, and with only 10 of these artifacts in the entire tower, he realized just how precious it was. Without hesitation, driven by excitement, Seojun placed the straw hat on his head, eager to discover the incredible abilities it would grant him. As he adorned the hat, a flurry of system notifications appeared before him, revealing that various restrictions had been lifted. New abilities and skills were displayed, including increased strength, enhanced stamina, improved mana recovery, and a host of other remarkable capabilities that left Seojun feeling truly bewildered with his mouth open. Now, gazing at the rugged terrain above the cave, Seojun felt a surge of contentment. His strength and stamina had been limiting his farming progress, but with these newfound powers bestowed by the straw hat, he knew he could significantly accelerate the expansion of his farm. With a warm smile gracing his face, Seojun turned to look at Theo. He couldn't help but express his gratitude, acknowledging that Theo truly had the golden touch, since he always seemed to bring good things along. Theo, however, remained blissfully unaware, fast asleep with his mouth agape. Unable to contain his happiness, Seojun approached and gently hugged Theo, saying with affection, "My lovely and proud sales cat, Theo." He showered Theo's paws with kisses, overcome with joy. At this unexpected display of affection, Theo stirred from his slumber. He seemed a bit bewildered, asking Seojun what he was doing with his paws and stating, in a somewhat awkward manner, that he wasn't interested in male human. Seojun suddenly jumped to his feet, his excitement evident in his voice as he exclaimed, saying, "Theo can be sales cat Theo for a whole week." Theo, taken aback by this unexpected offer, couldn't help but express his surprise. "A whole week instead of just 38 hours? He questioned. Seojun playfully scooped Theo into the air, his face beaming with happiness. He confirmed with enthusiasm, saying, "Yes," and affectionately referred to Theo as a cute bastard. The commotion stirred the baby bear and roused all the rabbits from their slumber. In the midst of this jubilant atmosphere, Theo couldn't contain his joy. He happily responded, he don't know why he is getting this special treatment, but he is really, really happy. The scene takes a sudden shift, and within the cave, the piercing scream of the wife rabbit resonated. It was an unmistakable sign. The wife rabbit had gone into labor. Amidst this tense moment, the chubby rabbit seemed quite unfazed, casually nibbling on a stick. However, the warrior rabbit was a bundle of nerves, clutching his hands tightly and offering prayers. Seojun appeared even more nervous, his legs trembling uncontrollably. Clenching his teeth, he struggled to contain his anxiety. Theo, seated on Seojun's lap, was becoming increasingly irritated by the constant leg shaking. Annoyed, Theo asked Seojun to cease his restless leg movements, expressing that he might go crazy otherwise. Seojun, realizing his anxious habit, apologized, explaining that he couldn't help himself due to his nerves. As time ticked by, there was still no news from the wife rabbit. The baby rabbits sat huddled near the cave's entrance, their eyes filled with worry as they anxiously stared at the cave where the rabbit couple had disappeared. Then suddenly, the cave's entrance swung open. Everyone rushed toward it, their hearts pounding with anticipation. From the cave emerged the sickle rabbit, cradling 3 adorable little baby rabbits. But the surprises didn't end there. Following the sickle rabbit, the husband rabbit appeared, holding 3 more of these precious little ones. 6 new baby rabbits had joined Seojun's growing family. The baby rabbits were gently laid down on a bed made from onion leaves, and all the rabbits formed a circle around them, their hearts warmed by the sight. Sejun, with a caring smile, commented that he needed to prepare a nutritious soup for the mommy rabbit to help her recover her strength. The husband rabbit beamed with happiness at this thoughtful gesture. Observing Theo's hesitance to approach the baby rabbits, Seojun encouraged his curious feline friend to come closer and take a look. Theo, with a thoughtful expression, remarked that the baby rabbits were indeed tiny. Seojun chuckled and explained that they were small because they were babies, which earned more laughter from the chubby rabbit and the warrior rabbit. Then, Seojun playfully addressed Theo as Uncle Theo, which seemed to startle Theo. With a warm smile, Seojun elaborated that now that Theo was an uncle, he had to take good care of the baby rabbits and become a cool uncle. This idea excited Theo, and he reached under his cape to retrieve his precious churu treats. He happily offered them to the baby rabbits, proudly declaring himself as Cool Uncle Theo and gifting them his most treasured churu. However, Seojun and the other rabbits burst into laughter, explaining that since the babies were still so young, they could only drink their mommy's milk for now. However, Seojun teasingly accused Theo of hiding churu treats secretly from him. Nervously, Theo explained that they were meant for emergencies, but since it was a joyous occasion, Seojun decided to let it slide. Meanwhile, far from the cave, the scene shifted to get a closer look at the waypoint crystal. Something ominous was happening. A dark creature with large menacing horns and glowing red eyes was commanding a horde of creatures, all possessing fierce horns and muscular body. This menacing creature was none other than the boss of the 99th floor, Demon King Ox. He stood there with a terrifying aura, clutching a massive battle axe, and ordered his minions to attack during the upcoming blue moon, promising them a hearty feast. Back in the cave, Seojun was busy picking cherry tomatoes, while Theo played with the baby rabbits. In the previous episode, you saw how the tower manager was ill and was about to die in a few years, but after eating Seojun's special juicy cherry tomatoes, she started to heal. Meanwhile, the mother rabbits gave birth to 6 cute baby rabbits, and as the blue moon approached, the demon lord, the boss of the 99th floor, was ready to attack Seojun's cave with his army. Now, thanks to the Straw Hat's magical ability, Seojun enjoyed a significant harvest bonus. The upcoming week promised a 50% increase in the cherry tomato harvest. Standing by the cherry tomato farm, Seojun observed the miraculous results of this bonus. The cherry plants were adorned with double the usual number of flowers, and hundreds of busy honeybees buzzed around them collecting nectar. Seojun couldn't help but smile as he gazed at the thriving cherry tomato plants. The sight of the honeybees at work was like a symphony of nature in action. Now, sitting near the cherry tomato plants, Seojun started to think. He contemplated that tomorrow marked the 7th blue moon, since he had arrived in the tower. He wondered if the baby bear and his mommy were also preparing for the blue moon, which might be the reason they didn't come to the cave today. Seojun also realized that he had to go to work and quickly prepare for the blue moon. However, Seojun's attention was diverted by the commotion of new baby rabbits. He turned back to see the cute baby rabbits running around, with Theo wearing a worried expression as he tried to catch them to prevent them from getting hurt. Theo managed to catch one of the baby rabbits that was nibbling on a half-eaten fish. He scolded the little one, explaining that the fish was dirty and not suitable for them to eat. The baby rabbits, of course, couldn't understand his words and continued their innocent exploration. Next, the baby rabbits attempted to approach the campfire. Another potential danger, Leo once again intervened. He scooped up the little rabbits and warned them about the fire. Frustrated, Theo gathered all the baby rabbits, holding one in his hand, another on his back, and one more in his other hand, gently scolding them all. Theo stressed that everything around them was too dangerous for the baby rabbits and that they needed to stay close to Uncle Theo. However, the baby rabbits, in their adorable innocence, remained clueless. Before we proceed, today's goal is 7K likes. Please like and subscribe to the channel to show your support. Thank you. Let's continue. Observing Theo's caring and protective nature towards the baby rabbits, Seojun couldn't help but smile warmly. He never expected that Theo would become such a wonderful guardian for the little ones. While Theo continued to pick up the adventurous baby rabbits and place them on his cape, Seojun approached him. With genuine affection in his voice, Seojun asked Theo how he was faring as Uncle Theo to the baby rabbits and as the sales cat. Theo, a bit tired from all the baby rabbit wrangling, admitted that he was quite exhausted. The mother and father rabbits were very happy, watching how Theo was taking care of their babies. Theo then placed his hand proudly on his chest and declared that despite the exhaustion, he was thoroughly enjoying his role as the cool Uncle Theo. Seojun couldn't help but let out a slight chuckle at Theo's response. As Seojun turned back, the husband rabbit and the wife rabbit gave him a thumbs up very happily. Seojun returned the thumbs up with a smirking smile, indicating that they had successfully made Theo take care of the baby rabbits, freeing themselves from this responsibility. Theo, with all the baby rabbits now on his back, expressed his excitement at taking them on a grand adventure. He encouraged the little ones to hold on tight as they embarked on their journey. The baby rabbits clung to Theo, their tiny faces filled with pure joy. As Theo prepared to set off on this exciting adventure with his small companions, Seojun shouted from behind, reminding him to return before dinner. The scene shifted to the grand castle of our honeybee colony. Here the workers were diligently sealing the windows of the castle to keep out the influence of the upcoming blue moon. The rabbits, too, were one by one closing the entrances to their caves and retreating to the safety of their underground dwelling. Seojun, sitting on the ground nearby, began to unpack his bag. He, too, was all set for the impending blue moon. As he went about his preparations, he couldn't help but notice Theo attempting to enter his own bag. A curious expression crossed Seojun's face, and he asked Theo what he was up to. Theo, with his body halfway inside the bag, replied with a hint of playfulness in his voice. He explained that he was planning to take refuge inside his bag to avoid the effects of the blue moon. Since he had recently advanced to become a higher mid-level merchant, his bag had grown in size. Now, he could comfortably fit inside it, providing him with shelter from the moon's influence. As Theo settled himself into the bag, Seojun listened curiously. Theo continued, explaining that his bag, while useful, wasn't anything particularly special and was about the size of a simple tent. However, he added that other high-level merchants had bags as large as entire houses. Seojun listened to Theo with curiosity, and then he got a great idea. Seojun carefully took out the queen bee's cocoon from his bag and handed it to Theo. He requested Theo to keep it safe. Theo received the cocoon with a mix of excitement and determination, cradling the precious item gently in his furry paws. He assured Seojun that he would protect the queen bee's cocoon with all his might, promising that not a single thread on it would be damaged. Seojun smiled warmly, expressing his trust in Theo's ability. As the blue moon slowly began its ascent, casting an otherworldly blue hue across the landscape, Seojun found himself gazing up at the sky. He couldn't help but wonder about the well-being of the baby bear and its mother during this unusual night. However, their thoughts were soon interrupted by an unexpected event. The ground beneath them began to tremble. Seojun swiftly placed the ear cups made of onion leaves over his ears, his face etched with concern. The vibrations from the shaking ground were accompanied by increasingly loud screams that pierced through the night. The sheer volume of the noise threatened to overwhelm Seojun, and he clutched his ears tightly, fearing they might burst from the intensity of the sound. It seemed as though something extraordinary and potentially perilous was unfolding outside the cave. After what seemed like an eternity, the deafening noise finally ceased, leaving a bewildered Seojun to ponder its origin. It had resembled the cry of a cow, but that raised a peculiar question. Were there cows on the 9th floor? Such thoughts swirled in his mind, but soon his attention was drawn to the cherry tomato plants. In the eerie blue light of the blue moon, the cherry tomatoes had undergone a remarkable transformation. They absorbed the moon's energy, turning a vibrant shade of blue. Seojun watched in astonishment as not just one, but multiple blue cherry tomatoes glistened in the moonlight. He couldn't help but wonder if the blue moon that night was exceptionally intense. However, the surprises didn't end there. To his amazement, Seojun noticed a corn plant also soaking in the energy of the blue moon. His excitement grew as he contemplated this unusual phenomenon. He speculated that the Straw Hat's ability, which had boosted the harvest by 50% for the week, might be responsible for these incredible developments. Morning eventually arrived, and Theo ventured outside the cave first. After surveying the area and ensuring it was safe, he informed Seojun that there was no sign of danger at the cave's entrance. Seojun, using the onion leaf rope, followed suit and emerged from the cave. However, Theo expressed concern about the potential dangers outside, especially after the unsettling screams from the previous night. He suggested that it might have been safer to wait until the mother bear returned to the cave. However, Seojun reassured him, explaining that he needed to investigate if the creatures responsible for the loud noises had caused any damage to their farm. Theo firmly clung to Seojun's legs, insisting that he would accompany him. He respectfully addressed Seojun as chairman. Seojun, with a warm smile, expressed his gratitude to Theo, referring to him as sales cat Theo. Outside the cave, the scene was far from pleasant. Their farm had been torn apart, leaving large mounds of dirt scattered around as if someone had used heavy machinery to dig extensive holes. But then Seojun noticed something, a large footprint of a monster about 7 meters in size, and after careful examination, concluded that the footprints resembled those of a large cow. He approached one of the massive dirt piles and marveled at the immense strength required to dig and form such a mound. As Seojun inspected the area, he noticed something that left him in shock. He sprinted toward one of the dirt piles and began to climb it energetically. Theo, bewildered by Seojun's actions, inquired about his intentions. Seojun, a handful of dirt in his hands and a look of pure happiness on his face, explained that the soil had a different texture from the usual barren ground. Instead of being crumbly, hard, and filled with pebbles, this soil was soft, moist, and appeared to be rich in nutrients. Seojun's mind raced with possibilities. He fantasized about transforming the area outside the cave into a lush, fertile farm teeming with crops. However, reality soon set in. To do this, he would need heavy machinery like tractors and excavators, which seemed impossible to obtain. The tower manager inquired about Seojun's presence outside the cave. Seojun casually explained that he had just come to check on the farm and was planning to return to the cave shortly. However, the tower manager scolded him, expressing her concern due to the intense blue moon from the previous night, which had led to dangerous conditions outside with monsters scattered about. With a hint of jest, Seojun slid down a mound of dirt and cheekily affirmed that he was indeed on his way. Playfully, he referred to the tower manager as Aileen and asked if she had been okay during the intense blue moon last night. Annoyed by his nonchalant attitude, the tower manager firmly asserted that Seojun need not worry about her and emphasized his safety, instructing him to return to the cave immediately. Seojun couldn't resist a smirk and commented that it seemed like Aileen, the tower manager, was showing more concern for him today. In response, Aileen remained silent, leaving the conversation hanging. Then, Seojun descended from the cave, determined to harvest the crops nourished by the blue moon. Meanwhile, Theo was utterly exhausted and had retreated for some much-needed rest. Seojun took hold of a cornstalk, brimming with the energy of the blue moon. With careful precision, he plucked the corn and began to peel it open. To his amazement, the corn gleamed with a sparkling blue hue. Seojun then examined its properties, discovering it was called the corn of stamina. Consuming it would result in a permanent stamina increase of 0.1, making it both nutritious and delicious. Holding this unique blue corn in his hand, Seojun realized that because it was a D-rank crop, it provided double the stat boost compared to E-rank crops. Setting aside thoughts of calculations and numbers, Seojun eagerly prepared to take a bite of the blue corn. However, just as he was about to indulge, the tower manager issued a stern warning, reminding Seojun of his promise. Startled, Seojun swiftly wiped away his saliva, assuring the tower manager that he hadn't forgotten his commitment. To make amends, he plucked 5 blue cherry tomatoes and presented them to the tower manager. In response, the tower manager expressed her gratitude and promised to repay Seojun in the future. Seojun responded with a smile, eagerly looking forward to whatever awaited him. The tower manager held the 5 blue cherry tomatoes, each brimming with Seojun's special juice. As she gazed at these extraordinary fruits, a thought crossed her mind. If a regular cherry tomato could make her dragon heart beat, what would happen when she consumed one of Seojun's special, juicy cherry tomatoes? Without dwelling further on her curiosity, she impulsively popped all 5 blue cherry tomatoes into her mouth. The juiciness and flavor were beyond her wildest expectations, and for a moment, she felt as if she had entered a heavenly realm. She held her cheeks in delight, savoring the extraordinary taste. However, just as suddenly as the pleasure had washed over her, something unexpected occurred. First, a ticklish sensation pricked at her bottom. Then, a surge of intense pain engulfed her, and she collapsed onto the ground. Racked with agony, she cried out as a dark purple aura enveloped her heart. In the previous episode, we witnessed how, when the blue moon arrived, a menacingly loud noise nearly caused Seojun to faint. He obtained blue corn and some blue cherry tomatoes, and after consuming Seojun's special cherries, the tower manager fainted in pleasure. Oh, sorry, but fainted in pain. Seojun skillfully separated the husk of the corn, which had been blessed by the blue moon. He gently placed it into a pot along with some water, then covered the lid. As the corn simmered over the campfire, Seojun sat beside the pot, wearing a satisfied smile. He remarked how he was finally able to put the pot that Theo had bought to good use. He explained that the corn husk would create a layer of air between the pot and the corn, resulting in a perfectly cooked corn. Next, Seojun took the remaining corn husk, washed it, and set it to dry between two rocks with the help of two wooden branches. He smiled gently, saying that once the husk was dry, he would be able to make corn silk tea, adding another beverage to enjoy in the cave. Then, the husband rabbit and the other rabbits greeted Seojun with cheerful wishes of good morning. Seojun returned their greetings with a warm smile, starting the day on a positive note. Seojun inquired about the baby rabbits, wondering where they were. The husband rabbit gestured toward the cave, indicating that the babies were inside, sleeping peacefully beside their mother, who was currently breastfeeding them. With excitement, Seojun called all the rabbits and proudly displayed the blue and juicy cherry tomatoes, blessed by the blue moon, that he had harvested the previous night. He explained that the harvest had been plentiful and that each of them could have one. The husband rabbit and the warrior rabbit were overjoyed to receive their share. Before we proceed, today's goal is 7,777. Please like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you. Now let's continue with the story. Turning back to check on the boiling pot, Seojun informed the rabbits that he was preparing a new batch of blue moon corn, and they could all enjoy it together once it was ready. The rabbits eagerly anticipated this treat. Then, the husband rabbit, holding his blue cherry tomato, tried to convey to Seojun that he wanted to share the blue cherry tomato with him. Hearing this, Seojun was overjoyed by this gesture, and he responded with a warm smile as he patted the husband rabbit. He expressed his deep gratitude, acknowledging that the husband rabbit always looked out for him. Happily, the husband rabbit wagged his tail in response. On the other hand, the warrior rabbit felt a bit sad because Seojun was only patting the husband rabbit, and the chubby rabbit seemed a bit displeased, puffing up his cheeks in a mildly annoyed manner. Then Seojun turned towards the warrior rabbit and the chubby rabbit, and with a smile he said that even if he wanted to eat all the blue cherry tomatoes by himself, he couldn't because they were all a family. So they would have a grand feast and share the tomatoes with everyone. Hearing this, the warrior rabbit became very happy, and the chubby rabbit started drooling in anticipation. The scene then shifted, and we saw our queen bee with her worker bees collecting nectar. Seojun gently opened the hot pot's lid, and steam filled the air with a sweet aroma. Gazing at the hot blue corn, Seojun remarked on how delicious it looked. He carefully picked up the steaming ear of corn, even though it was very hot, unable to wait any longer. He blew on it to cool it down, thinking that since it was a D-grade crop filled with the energy of the blue moon, it should taste even more delicious. After the corn had cooled down, Seojun, with a very happy smile, prepared to take his first bite. Sitting beside him were all the rabbits, each holding a cherry tomato, eagerly awaiting their share. However, the chubby rabbit couldn't wait and had already devoured an entire blue cherry tomato in one go. Finally, all the rabbits began taking small bites with great joy, savoring every bit of sweetness and deliciousness. The chubby rabbit, having already eaten his portion, sat holding his plump stomach. Just then, the husband rabbit appeared in front of Seojun, smiling happily and holding two blue cherry tomatoes. He announced that he would share them with his wife. Seojun wished him an enjoyable meal. Seojun then took a bite of the blue corn. As he had anticipated, it was incredibly delicious, and he could taste the sweetness in every single kernel. Unable to contain himself, Seojun began devouring the blue corn, eating it with the same enthusiasm as a rabbit. The more he chewed, the more delicious it became. The rabbits watched in shock at the speed with which he was eating, and some even started cheering for Seojun. Then the system notified Seojun that he had consumed the stamina corn, and Seojun's stamina increased by 0.1 permanently. Holding the cob of the blue corn, Seojun expressed his joy at how delicious it was, and how he ate it so eagerly. Then, he threw the corn cob into the campfire, cleaned his hands by clapping, and declared that it was time to harvest some corn. The rabbits also cheered happily. They were all ready to start harvesting. Now standing near a cornstalk, Seojun examined the corn closely, commenting on how perfectly ripe it was and ready for harvesting. He carefully plucked one corn, and the system notified Seojun that he had harvested a corn of stamina. His job experience increased slightly, and he gained 20 XP. Holding the corn, Seojun wondered about its stats and decided to check. The system then provided information. The corn was called corn of stamina. When consumed, it would permanently reduce 20 grams of fat and increase stamina by 0.2 for 10 minutes. This effect could be stacked up to 10 times. Furthermore, when consumed by non-awakened individuals, it would also improve their overall health and make them look young, happily holding the corn. Seojun couldn't help but think about how great it would be if he could give this special corn to his mother. He believed it would make her look younger. Seojun decided that when Theo visited next time, he would send some of this corn along with cherry tomatoes to his family. It wouldn't be fair if he was the only one enjoying such delicious food. The sickle rabbit continued to cut corn, while the chart rabbit and the white rabbit gathered more corn. They all agreed with Seojun's thoughtful idea. Suddenly, a slight growl echoed through the cave, and the mommy bear along with the baby bear greeted Seojun with a warm smile. Seojun quickly came out of the cave and asked the mommy bear if she was okay, and if she had been hurt. He mentioned hearing loud noises from outside the cave the previous night. The mommy bear assured him that she was perfectly fine. Seojun then turned his attention to the baby bear and offered him some of Queen Bee's special juice, knowing that he must be craving it after not having it for a long time. The baby bear's eyes sparkled with delight as he eagerly took the honey and began to enjoy it. After that, Seojun turned to the mommy bear and told her to wait for a moment. He promised to bring her some roasted fish in just a minute. Then, still rubbing his eyes and dragging his bag, Theo woke up. Seojun asked why Theo had woken up so early, and Theo proudly responded that he couldn't waste any time as sales cat Theo. He was going to work because he was the ultimate pro among wandering merchants. Seojun, trying to maintain a neutral expression while feeling a mixture of emotions, commented on how Theo was truly becoming a professional wandering merchant. Then, Theo clung to Seojun's foot and asked him to have the mommy bear take him to the wandering merchant passage. He explained that many dangerous monsters were prowling around due to the blue moon. Without hesitation, the baby bear gently picked Theo up and, with his mommy's assistance, started heading towards the passage. Theo wiggled in their grasp, worried about his precious cake being torn. Observing the damaged field, Seojun commented that it was time to restore it while waiting for the mommy and baby bear to return from dropping off Theo. The scene shifts, and we find the Ox King, the boss of the 99th floor, sitting on his throne while his thousands of soldiers stand before him. One by one, the Ox soldiers approach the demon Ox King, each one placing mud beside him. The Ox King begins counting. Soldier number 1 brought dry mud, and then another soldier arrives and he remarks, "So, soldier number 2 brought dry soil." Upon hearing this, the soldier who brought the dry soil starts to panic a bit and forces a smile. However, the Ox King becomes furious and starts shouting. He berates his ox soldiers, declaring them to be dumb for bringing mud and dry soil. He emphasizes that he's a living being, not a plant, and questions how he could eat mud. He asks them if they've lost their minds. One of the soldiers raises their hand and explains that it's been so long since they've seen any green grass in their territory that they didn't know where to find food. They express their gloom, admitting that even if they were to dig up their entire territory, they would find nothing but mud. Listening intently, the Ox King reflects on their word. He curses under his breath and slumps back onto his throne. He starts to wonder why this is happening. Once upon a time, their territory was filled with lush green fields and high-quality grass. However, after he became the boss of the 99th floor, he needed large quantities of grass to maintain his muscular physique. He had ordered all his men to gather grass in their territory, but the Minotaur race are large monsters with voracious appetites. The rate at which they consumed the grass far exceeded the rate at which it grew, leading to the land becoming barren, devoid of a single blade of grass. Now, thinking deeply, the Ox King was worried. He and his subordinates were not eating and were losing muscle. Even the health of the newborn young Minotaurs was not looking good. If they didn't receive anything to eat, their lives would be in danger. Then, the Ox King shouted, calling for ox number 3. However, even after calling for several minutes, no one came. The Ox King asked in concern if ox number 3 had mistakenly entered another monster's territory and got himself into trouble. But from behind, ox number 3 came, apologizing. He explained that when the blue moon ended and he opened his eyes, he found himself very far away, so it took him a long time to reach here. Hearing this, the Ox King showed relief, saying it's fine as long as he returned safely. However, before he could finish his sentence, the Ox King noticed something and his eyes widened in shock. He had a puzzled expression on his face as he started coming closer to ox number 3, making ox number 3 nervous nervous, thinking the Ox King might punish him. Suddenly, the Ox King came even closer to Ox number 3, holding his shoulder, and shouted, "What is that on Ox number 3's head?" This left Ox number 3 in confusion. The Ox King continued, saying he was talking about that sweet-smelling root that was hanging on Ox number 3's horn. While saying this, the Ox King was breathing heavily, and Ox number 3 noticed something hanging on his horn as well, and he too got shocked. What could it be? The scene shifted, and we saw the tower manager lying in pain. Her head was throbbing severely. She tried to recall what had happened, wondering how she had ended up in this condition. Slowly, she attempted to stand up, but as she rose, her head collided with the chandelier hanging from the ceiling. She was confused and shocked, wondering how the chandelier had come loose. Then, when she looked down, another surprise awaited her. She noticed that her crystal ball had shrunk in size. As she gingerly picked up the crystal ball, she realized that neither the chandelier nor the crystal ball had gotten smaller. It was she who had grown bigger. In the previous episode, we saw how after eating Seojun's juicy cherries, our tower manager grew thicker. Shit grew larger. On the other hand, the Ox King was getting ready to attack Seojun. Still deeply confused, the tower manager realized that she had hit puberty, and her body had undergone a significant change. She felt a strange tickling sensation in her stomach as she sat crouched, lost in thought. She couldn't comprehend why she had suddenly grown so big. Then, a memory flashed through her mind. She remembered eating those 5 blue, juicy cherry tomatoes that Seojun had given her. She began to wonder if there was something special about Seojun's cherry tomatoes. Just before she had fainted, she recalled her dragon heart beating for a brief moment. Afterward, she had grown larger, and even though her heart wasn't beating now, she felt incredibly light, as if she could fly right now if she tried. Then, holding her crystal ball tightly, she started kissing Seojun through the crystal ball, saying that it was all because of Seojun that her heart had healed somewhat. She couldn't contain her excitement as she thought about what she would do with Seojun once they got out of the tower. Then, as she observed Seojun through her crystal ball, happily munching on the blue corn, she couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy. She shouted, asking how Seojun could relish those delectable treats while leaving her out. However, the crystal ball she held was too small for her grown-up body, preventing her from getting a clear view of what Seojun was enjoying. Without wasting a single minute, she hurriedly tried to go to her treasured room to bring a larger crystal ball. However, she got stuck at the door since it was too small for her It was too small for her current body, and she started shouting in frustration, saying she needed to lose weight, or Seojun would devour all the delicious treats without her. Before we proceed, please subscribe to our new channel. Link in the pinned comment. Our goal for today's likes is 6,900 likes. Please like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you. Now let's continue with the video. The scene shifts, and it's a bright, sunny day outside the cave's entrance. The baby bear waves his hands happily toward the queen bee, who joyfully waves back while flying around the cave with her worker bees. Meanwhile, the shovel rabbit stands atop a pile of corn, watching the worker bees work with delight. Over by the corn pile, the husband rabbit and the wife rabbit are busy peeling the corn and placing the peeled corn on top of onion leaves. The baby rabbits are having fun playing with one of the worker bees, while the sickle rabbit is preparing wooden sticks. The warrior rabbit takes the peeled corn and places it onto the wooden sticks, with a cute little baby rabbit watching in admiration. Another baby rabbit patiently waits beside a pile of prepared corn, neatly arranged on top of onion leaves, all ready for roasting. The cart rabbit then comes in, loads up the prepared corn onto his cart to roast, and a baby rabbit sits on the cart, cheerfully waving to the white rabbit who's in charge of roasting the corn over the campfire. Then we see Seojun complimenting all his animal friends for doing a great job preparing the corn. He called the cute baby rabbit on the cart Captain Baby, as the baby rabbit also did a great job coming all the way here. The baby rabbit reacted happily. Holding the baby rabbit in his arms, Seojun said to the chubby rabbit that he had steamed the corns and his work was almost finished. He suggested wrapping up and told the chubby rabbit to gather everyone, as they would all have dinner together. The chubby rabbit nodded in response. Excitedly, Seojun gently opened the lid of the pot, and the delicious aroma of the juicy corn filled the entire cave. Seeing the corn, The baby rabbit in Seojun's hand also started drooling with sparkling eyes. As Seojun was taking out the hot, juicy steamed corns from the pot and placing them on plates made of onion leaves with a DIY glove made from onion leaves, the tower manager asked Seojun if she also could taste the juicy corn. She then asked if Seojun could give her one steamed corn. Suddenly, a quest appeared in front of Seojun, saying, "Share the corn with the horny, share the corn with the hungry tower manager." And the reward was extreme gratitude. If refused, the tower manager would become extremely disappointed. Seeing this, Seojun replied, addressing the tower manager as Aileen with a smile on his face. He mentioned that he was going to give some steamed corn to her anyway, and said to wait for a moment. He was also preparing some grilled corn, and once ready, he would send both the steamed and grilled corn to her all at once. The tower manager nodded, saying she would wait. Then we see the warrior rabbit and the white rabbits bringing the delicious, mouth-watering grilled corn. Seojun instructed them to place the grilled corn on a plate made of onion leaf. After a moment, we see many grilled corns neatly arranged on a large plate, also made of onion leaves. The cart rabbit brought the steamed corn, and all the rabbits worked together to prepare the corns for dinner. Meanwhile, the husband rabbit and the wife rabbit happily stood with the baby rabbits, and on a large bowl made of onion leaves beside Seojun, there was a full load of steamed corn. 3 cute little baby rabbits watched, unable to wait to taste them. Now Seojun, holding a roasted corn with seasoning sprinkled on it, commented that the seasoning Theo brought was a godsend to the grilled corn. He continued, saying it's a pity that he can't taste the butter-grilled corn like his mom makes, but this also looks very delicious. The white rabbits were also holding grilled corn, and the warrior rabbit was contemplating whether to eat the grilled or steamed corn. Then, Seojun began preparing his special corn. First, he applied the sugar that Theo bought onto the corn and grilled it until it turned golden brown. Next, he sprinkled some Parmesan cheese onto the grilled corn. With his tongue licking his lips, Seojun reached into his bag while a cute baby rabbit watched curiously to see what Seojun was doing. Suddenly, he excitedly brought out a pouch full of red chili powder and explained how he found this chili pouch in Theo's bag while Theo was sleeping. He started to think with a slight anger that Theo didn't tell Seojun about such a precious item, and considered removing Theo from the sales cat position. However, he decided to let it slide since he was in a very good mood today. Lastly, he sprinkled some chili powder onto the corn, and voila! Seojun's special juicy corn was ready. The system notified Seojun that it was a corn filled with Seojun's aura and so delicious that one couldn't hold back once eaten. Finally, Seojun took a bite out of his special corn, and yes, it was truly delicious. Seojun smiled with pleasure, feeling like he was in heaven as the sweet and spicy taste reminded him of his home. Then, Seojun prepared 6 grilled juicy corns and gave them to the tower manager, who thanked him happily, completing the quest. Seojun then turned toward the white and warrior rabbits and asked them if the grilled corn was delicious. They nodded in response with smiles on their faces as they munched on the grilled corn. Then Seojun noticed that the husband rabbit and the wife rabbit were not eating their meals as they were busy feeding the baby rabbits. Then Seojun got an idea. He placed a steamed corn on a bowl and with a spoon scraped the corn kernels, separating them. He gave the bowl full of corn kernels to the husband rabbit and the wife rabbit, saying that now the baby rabbits could eat without being fed, and they could also enjoy their meal. The husband and wife rabbit sighed in relief and thanked Seojun while the baby rabbits surrounded the bowl full of corn kernels and started picking them one by one. Then Seojun also started munching on the corn happily. However, as he took a bite, he noticed something, and the next moment he spit out all the corn he had eaten, saying, "What the hell?" He saw that the baby rabbits were playing with the corn kernels, and all the corn kernels were sticking to their bodies. 3 baby rabbits were lying on the bowl, with one eating a corn kernel while the other 2 called out to Seojun cutely. Seojun gently, with a warm smile, started removing the corn kernels one by one from their bodies, remarking on how they were getting naughtier day by day. Meanwhile, one baby rabbit, with a full stomach, was sleeping on the bowl, while another was eating some corn kernels. Others had their corn kernels removed by Seojun. With an exhausted expression, Seojun started feeding the baby rabbits, saying that working while taking care of babies was very tiring. He missed Theo, as Theo was the one who used to take care of the baby rabbits. Then Seojun gave the mommy and baby bear some sweet potatoes, fresh fish, and some corn to eat, and they also started eating happily. Then the scene shifts, and we see a member of the Phoenix Guild banging his hand on the table in frustration, asking why Theo is not coming as he is taking longer than usual. They had set up a camp on the 38th floor where Theo usually comes to sell the cherry tomatoes. Another hunter asked why he came here to buy cherry tomatoes again, as just the other day he bought a good amount of cherry tomato. He replied with a serious face that outside the tower, rich people are buying these magical cherry tomatoes at very high prices. A single cherry tomato is selling for more than $400, so he came to stock up on the cherry tomatoes to sell them at a higher price later. Then we see Dong-shik talking with a blonde-haired woman, Jessica, a member of the Phoenix Guild. She asked Dong-shik what to do as their supplies are slowly running out, and it will become very difficult to leave the tower once they're empty. Now Dong-shik, thinking deeply, replied that they have no other choice. He decided to stay in the tower, while all the other members will get out from the tower to refill the supply. As all the members were leaving the tower, Dong-shik, watching them from behind, said to the big melon girl he thought Jessica would be the one staying in the tower, but didn't expect Soha to be here with him. Then, Suha explained that Jessica had already gotten rid of her fatty stomach, so she no longer needed the cherry tomatoes. With a warm smile, she said that Jessica gave her share to Suha instead. Dong-shik asked Suha if she would also participate in the auction personally, wondering if she also needed the cherry tomatoes. Suha replied that she was not there for the cherry tomatoes. She playfully winked and brought out 5 packets of churu, saying she was here to give this churu to Theo. Dong-shik laughed and replied that it's good to keep Theo happy since he's a very important guy. Then the scene shifts, and we see Theo singingly walking in the forest, saying that the baby rabbits are waiting for the cool Uncle Theo. So he has to quickly finish his work and return to the cave. Finally, after a long walk, Theo reached his destination, the wandering merchant passageway. It was a humongous, thick tree with a large hole, and was now standing just above the passageway on a hill. Theo commented on how big the tree was, and looked up, saying he felt like the tree was so big that it would reach the sky. Then we see many wandering merchants preparing to enter the passageway. Among them, there's a big elephant, a goblin, and 2 little mice, all following Theo, who is at the front of the group. A cute dog merchant officer asked Theo which agency he was from and what Theo's grade was. Theo proudly replied that he was a high-grade wandering merchant and wanted to use the passageway to reach the 38th floor. The officer approved Theo's request, and he started moving forward. However, unbeknownst to Theo, 3 wolves from behind him began glaring at him with deadly eyes and followed him. They were silver-furred wolves with sharp yellow eyes. One of them was larger, the captain, and the other 2 were smaller. The 2 smaller wolves, upon seeing a drawing, they stared at Theo, trying to find something. Eventually, they revealed that they were looking for the straw hat that Theo had bought from the blacksmith. The 2 wolves' names were Wilco and Elkie. The little wolf asked the big wolf with a worried face why the floor boss was looking for the straw hat, especially just an ordinary straw hat that could be found anywhere. However, the captain replied with a serious tone that it didn't matter what the item was. They were the Silver Wolf tribe, the best mercenaries in the whole tower, and they should just act according to what the commissioner ordered. Then their captain ordered his subordinate that it's unlikely that Theo is the one who has the straw hat, but for now, they will just follow him. They pulled their hoods over their heads. Unbeknownst to them, from behind, a ghostly figure was watching them. She was the fox police girl. Seeing all of this, she was also shocked as to why the Silver Wolf tribe was after Theo, and then wondered if it was because of the straw hat. She started to wonder what the mysterious straw hat that the floor master had hired the Silver Wolf for even was. Deciding to follow the Silver Wolf, we see all the wandering merchants passing through the passage with Theo at the front, unaware of the danger following him. Just behind him, the Silver Wolf was tailing, and just behind the Silver Wolf, the Fox Girl was stealthily following them. In the previous episode, we saw how, after eating Seojun's blue cherry tomatoes, our tower manager grew thicker and became all lovey-dovey, starting to kiss Seojun from her crystal ball and just couldn't get enough of him. Meanwhile, Seojun was facing challenges in taking care of the baby rabbits in Theo's absence. On the other hand, Theo embarked on a journey to the 38th floor with the intention of selling cherry tomatoes. Little did he know that 3 silver wolves were silently tailing him. These wolves were on a quest to retrieve the straw hat that Theo had purchased from the black market. To make things even more interesting, the diligent police fox, Zeraf, was keeping a close watch on the 3 silver wolves, adding a layer of mystery to the unfolding events. On a lovely sunlit day, the shovel rabbit was hard at work, digging into the earth. Meanwhile, the cart rabbit diligently piled up the excavated soil into his cart. Right beside them, the warrior rabbit, with determined swings, was hammering the ground, making it more even and suitable for planting. So guys, today's like goal is 7,000 likes, so please like and subscribe to support the channel. Now let's continue. Zooming out, we could see both the mommy bear and the baby bear also busy at work, fixing the soil that had been disrupted during the previous blue moon's chaos caused by the buffalo. Seojun stood there cheering them on and expressing his gratitude to the mommy bear for her assistance. In a flash, the once hilly piles of dirt were leveled, and the field above the cave was all set for planting. Seojun's excitement was palpable as he reached into a red pouch. When he opened it, it revealed a sparkling abundance of peanut seed. The sight of those seeds brought smiles to the faces of Seojun and his furry companions. Seojun began sowing the peanut seeds across the prepared field. The husband and white rabbits were right behind him, watering the freshly sown seeds, while the cart rabbit, with a contented grin, observed Seojun's efforts. The shovel rabbit tirelessly continued to dig, ensuring that the field was perfectly ready for Seojun to sow his seeds. After a while of hard work, Seojun wiped the sweat from his brow and turned around to see all the peanut seeds neatly sown across the ground. With a cheerful tone, he remarked to the husband rabbit that increasing his agility had truly paid off. It had significantly boosted his work speed, allowing him to plant all the peanut seeds in just a few hours. Seojun attributed this remarkable speed not only to his improved agility, but also to the magical straw hat, which provided him with nearly infinite stamina exclusively for farming. The husband rabbit responded with a happy smile, genuinely pleased with Seojun's success. The narration then takes us back in time, showing us how Seojun acquired these peanut seeds. On the previous day, when the seed store opened, 3 seed options lay before Seojun: radish seeds, cucumber seeds, and peanut seeds. After careful consideration, he decided to purchase peanut seeds. His choice was influenced by a YouTube video he had watched, which highlighted peanuts as an excellent crop for soil restoration, something he urgently needed to address the condition of the soil above the ground. Despite his initial inclination to buy cucumber seeds, he ultimately bought 1,000 peanut seeds for 5 tower coin. However, there had been a pleasant surprise waiting for Seojun. The system had notified him that he had accumulated 100 seed store points, allowing him to increase his seed store level. This revelation left Seojun astonished, and he promptly upgraded his seed store level. As a result, the system informed him that he had been promoted from a rookie to a commoner. With this new status, he could now choose from 4 types of seeds instead of the usual 3. Furthermore, he gained the privilege to purchase an unlimited quantity of seeds from the seed store, although there was still a maximum spending limit of 5 tower coins per month. After completing this transaction, Seojun received his precious peanut seed. Now, standing there with his bag full of peanut seeds, Seojun wore an excited expression. He couldn't help but imagine what next month's visit to the seed store would bring. His mind buzzed with the possibilities of how many varieties of seeds he would be able to purchase, and how his progress would more than double. The anticipation of what lay ahead left him positively thrilled. Returning to the present moment, Seojun found himself amidst a task. He was carefully collecting all the harvested corn plants, which were a part of his secret plan, as corn plants, once harvested, became useless as they couldn't be replanted. The baby bear, full of cheerfulness, lent a hand in carrying the corn plants, while the rabbit buddies observed the activity with happy expressions. As Seojun patted the baby bear, thanking him for his hard work, the baby bear responded happily in his own language. Seojun and his rabbit buddies then began placing the corn plants one by one on top of the exposed peanut seeds. Seojun explained that he had cut the corn leaves to create a cover for the peanut seeds, preventing moisture from evaporating. This precaution was necessary due to the constant 24-hour sunshine in their environment. Afterward, seated on the ground, Seojun took a corn and started separating the corn kernels, placing them in a bowl. Once he had finished, wiping his sweat away, the system notified him that his experience points had increased, along with his seed gathering level. Seojun was planning to soak the corn kernels in water to encourage germination before replanting them. However, before he could proceed, the baby rabbits approached him, and one of them began nibbling on the corn kernels in the bowl. Seojun quickly lifted the bowl, reminding them that the corn kernels were not for them to eat. Nevertheless, the baby rabbits persisted, climbing onto Seojun's body, eager for a taste. Seojun couldn't help but notice the baby rabbits looking a bit downhearted. Some even appeared quite bored. With Theo absent and everyone, including himself and the other rabbits, busy with farming, the baby rabbits had little to keep them entertained. Realizing their need for some fun, Seojun had a brilliant idea. Excitedly, he reached into his bag, declaring that he had a fun task for the baby rabbits. Their eyes sparkled with anticipation as they waited eagerly. Seojun wasted no time and got to work. Using empty seed pouches, he crafted 3 small backpacks and fashioned 3 miniature handbags from leftover cloth material. To fill these pouches, he added dried sweet potatoes and carrots. Now, the baby rabbits stood there, brimming with excitement, each holding one of these adorable snack-filled bags. One of them beamed proudly, while another sneakily nibbled on a piece of dried sweet potato. Observing them with a warm smile, Seojun couldn't help but comment on how cute they looked, like a group of kindergarten kids. With a smile, Seojun instructed the baby rabbits that their mission was to deliver these snacks to the hard-working adult rabbits. They eagerly prepared themselves and, with a wave to Seojun, indicated they were ready for action. Seojun, addressing them as supply units, shouted a playful command to march forward and complete their mission. The baby rabbits, filled with excitement, happily began their march, ready to deliver snacks to their rabbit companion. Next, we witnessed the heartwarming sight of the baby rabbits distributing snacks to their hardworking companions in the field. The working rabbits were clearly delighted, their faces lit up with happiness. The husband rabbit, full of pride, patted one of the baby rabbits on the back. The mommy rabbit wore a contented smile as she lovingly embraced a baby rabbit, her motherly heart swelling with pride. Meanwhile, the cart and sickle rabbits indulged in their snacks, savoring the treats. 2 other lively baby rabbits playfully scampered around the field, their joy infectious. From a distance, Seojun observed this heartwarming scene, and an idea began to form in his mind. He resolved to talk to Theo about purchasing some cute little outfits for the baby rabbits once he returned. As he imagined the baby rabbits dressed as a ship captain, a postman, and even a cute Cinderella, he couldn't help but chuckle. The mental image of these adorable baby rabbits in costumes brought a smile to his face. Yet he regretted that his phone's battery had run out, preventing him from capturing this charming scene for posterity. The scene shifted, and we found Ox number 3 wandering through the vast lands with a heavy heart, a profound sadness etched on his face as he contemplated where he had discovered that extraordinary radish. His memories were foggy, and he couldn't recall anything that had happened since the arrival of the blue moon. What he did remember was that he had found the radish before the blue moon had graced the sky. In a flashback, we saw how the Ox King had reacted when he first laid eyes on the radish. The Ox King had gone absolutely wild with excitement. Clutching the radish in his massive hand, he had bombarded Ox number 3 with questions, demanding to know the origin of this peculiar root. However, Ox number 3's memory was hazy due to the effects of the blue moon, and all he could manage was a sweet, innocent smile. He admitted that he had discovered the radish somewhere outside the Ox King's territory, but couldn't remember precisely where. The Ox King had regarded the radish skeptically at first, but then, as if seized by an irresistible urge, he had taken a big bite. He chewed the radish slowly, his eyes wide, and the other oxen watched in envy with drool on their chins. Then, the unexpected occurred. The Ox King let out a resounding moo, his eyes bulging as if they might pop out of their sockets. He began to breathe heavily, and drool cascaded from his mouth. With both arms raised high, he shouted that the more he chewed this root, the sweeter it became. Incredibly, as he consumed the radish, his muscles began to bulge and grow, transforming him into a veritable mountain of muscle, all from the power of a single radish. Then, with heavy excitement, the Ox King grabbed Ox number 3's shoulder and started shaking him, asking him if he had to dig the ground or fly in the sky. He had to find the place from where he got this magical root, as the future of the Minotaur clan depended on it. He ordered Ox number 3 to find this place in the name of the pride of all the oxen, while Ox number 3 stood there confused. Now we're back in the present, and Ox number 3 stood expressionless, contemplating what to do next. After traveling for a while, he reached the border of the Ox King's territory and explained that one step from here, and the territory of the Crimson Bear would begin. He had no idea what would happen if the bear found him. Just as he pondered his next move, something unexpected occurred. Ox number 3 suddenly smelled a sweet fragrance in the air. Without knowing it, he instinctively followed the scent, and soon found himself in front of a farmland where Seojun had just planted peanuts and covered them with corn leaves. Seeing these green plants, Ox number 3 was shocked and bewildered. He immediately started eating some of them and gathered the plants. Before he could do anything more, the sweetness of the corn plant melted in his mouth, and he exclaimed how delicious it was. Without wasting a moment, he started gathering the crops. With each bite and every plant he harvested, Ox number 3's happiness grew. A radiant smile crossed his face as he considered what kind of plant this could be. He couldn't help but think of the joy the Ox King would experience upon seeing this bounty. With unmatched enthusiasm, Ox number 3 collected all the corn plants. Holding them high and dancing with glee, he made his way back into his territory. The sweet treasures he carried would surely bring immense delight to the Ox King and the entire Minotaur clan. Meanwhile, the Crimson Bear in her nest sensed something amiss. She abruptly stood up, fully alert, causing the baby bear who was sleeping beside her to tumble onto the ground. Confused and still half asleep, the baby bear wondered why his mother had awakened so suddenly. The mother bear was furious, her eyes blazing with anger, emitting a terrifying aura. On the other side, the tower manager was sipping Seojun's special juice while enjoying a hot bath in the spa. This spa was designed for adults, but due to her smaller size, she hadn't been able to use it until now. With her increased thickness, she finally got to savor its warmth. However, her relaxation was interrupted when she noticed someone calling out to her. At first, annoyance clouded her face as she wondered who had the audacity to disturb her bath. But when she saw that it was the Crimson Bear, her anger subsided. She inquired about what had happened with the bear. Upon learning that someone had invaded her territory, the tower manager's shock was evident, and her mouth hung open. Meanwhile, Seojun was in a deep slumber, completely unaware of the unfolding events. He lay on a bed made of onion leaves, with an eye cover crafted from the same leaves, and a trail of drool trickled from the corner of his mouth. It was the tower manager who eventually roused him from his peaceful sleep. As Seojun slowly opened his eyes, the tower manager hurriedly informed him about the Crimson Bear's report. Someone had invaded her territory and approached his cave. At that very moment, the Crimson Bear herself arrived near Seojun's cave, calling out for him. Seojun, feeling a bit anxious, contemplated his next move. Eventually, he decided to step outside with all his rabbit friends to investigate. To his relief, he found that his peanuts were unharmed this time, and the farmland was intact. However, there was a major problem. All the corn plants had mysteriously vanished. Someone had stolen every single one, leaving Seojun in complete shock. The sickle rabbit appeared disheartened, clutching a corn leaf, while one of the white rabbits seemed a bit frightened, as all their hard work had seemingly gone to waste. Seojun, perplexed and frustrated, held his head in his hands, wondering who could have done this and what to do next. Meanwhile, Theo had just arrived on the 38th floor, where he cheerfully greeted the hunters, unaware of the dangers awaits him. In the previous episode, we saw how everyone worked together to cultivate the land above the ground. Seojun had bought peanut seeds for his farm. However, an unexpected turn of events occurred when Ox number 3 discovered Seojun's farm, stole all his corn leaves, and made a quick getaway. This act left the mommy bear and the tower manager furious, while Seojun and his rabbit buddies were left speechless, as their farm was once again destroyed. Now, Seojun, watching his farmland, was in deep thought. He noticed that this time, his land wasn't destroyed. It was just the corn leaves that were missing. Whoever or whatever did this had to be an intelligent creature. While he was fretting over this, Mommy Bear spoke up. She suggested to Seojun that it must be the work of the horn bastards. The mention of horns got Seojun thinking hard. He remembered hearing a sound like a cow on the blue moon day. If those creatures were behind this, it meant trouble. Seojun then had a word with the sad warrior rabbit. He told the little guy not to be down because it was actually a good thing the farm wasn't totally destroyed this time. They just took the corn leaves, and they could always cover the peanut seeds again with the tomato leaves from the cave. Mommy Bear, trying to make Seojun feel better, promised to step up her game. She said she'd be more alert from now on, patrol the area more, and even expand her territory. Seojun gave her a grateful smile and thanked her for being so solid. But then, giving the baby bear a gentle pat, Seojun gave Mommy Bear a friendly warning. He appreciated all her hard work, but didn't want her to overdo it. Health comes first, he said, and Mommy Bear nodded, understanding what he meant. So guys, today's goal is 5,000 likes. Please like and subscribe to support the channel. Now let's continue. Now, with the mommy bear off patrolling, Seojun was left feeling concerned. He reflected, let's just be satisfied that no one is hurt. But he knew he needed to prepare for the future. While patting the baby bear, Seojun clenched his fist and spoke with confidence. He declared that he had to become powerful to protect himself and everyone from outside dangers. The baby bear looked puzzled, not understanding the gravity of the situation. Meanwhile, the warrior rabbit was ready to face anyone who dared to threaten their farm again. The scene shifted, and we saw the white worker rabbits gently placing corn leaves on top of the beautiful white cocoon of the queen bee. They carefully arranged them in a basket made with onion leaves. Seojun expressed his gratitude to the white rabbits for their help, and they waved in response. Seojun was seated on a chair made with onion leaves and wood, shading himself with an umbrella made of onion leaves. Beneath him was the basket containing the queen bee's cocoon. Seojun gazed at the cocoon with excitement, knowing that today was the day the queen bee would hatch, and he would become her daddy. He planned to spend the entire day beside the cocoon, and had left all the farming work to the farmer rabbits. Seojun went on to explain that the system had informed him that when the queen bee's cocoon hatches, the first person she sees would become her daddy. He lounged in his comfy chair, nibbling on some dried sweet potato, and continued. Currently, there were around 200 honeybees in the colony. When the new queen bee hatches, she would establish her own colony, dramatically increasing the total number of honeybees, and he can control them all using his beekeeping skill, adding an extra layer of protection. Beside him, there were some cherry tomatoes and sweet potato flowers displayed. Despite many hours passing, the queen bee had yet to hatch. Seojun, feeling drowsy, began to yawn. He held a cherry tomato flower in his right hand and a sweet potato flower in his left. With a warm smile, he thought about offering these flowers as a welcome gift to the new queen bee once she hatched. Then, a curious question crossed his mind. Which of these flowers would the queen bee like more? However, despite his best efforts to stay awake, sleep overcame him. Seojun drifted off into a deep slumber, his mouth hanging open, and he began to drool. In his sleep, he mumbled, "I like thick bee." Then, something entirely unexpected occurred. The queen bee's cocoon began to tremble slightly. As moments passed, the shaking intensified, causing a crack to form on the cocoon's surface. From within that crack, a brilliant yellow light began to radiate, growing larger and more vibrant with every passing second. Multiple cracks emerged, creating an intricate pattern on the cocoon's surface. All the while, Seojun remained blissfully unaware in his deep slumber. After a relentless struggle, the dazzling light slowly subsided, leaving the entire basket in a gentle tremor. And then, a tiny hand emerged, delicately removing the remaining corn leaves from the basket. Finally, our queen bee had hatched. She was overflowing with joy and excitement, buzzing with life. The newly hatched queen bee inspected her tiny hands and body while receiving a notification from the system, indicating that she was the second generation of queen bee. But then, something else caught her attention. She turned and saw something. Her curiosity piqued, and with a swift push, she took flight with her thick body. Landing gently on Seojun's chest, she stretched her body and curiously examined Seojun's face with her mouth slightly agape. After gazing at Seojun for a moment, the system delivered the crucial notification. The newborn queen bee had officially recognized Seojun as her daddy. In response, she gave a warm, contented smile, her buzzing filled with happiness as she attempted to wake Seojun up, her newfound daddy. However, Seojun remained in a deep slumber, undisturbed by the joyful commotion around him. Then she noticed the cherry tomato flower that Seojun had prepared for her. Holding it in her hand, she blushed a little, her eyes sparkling with happiness. From inside the cave, our queen bee buzzed out, startling the new little queen bee. Our queen bee happily greeted her child, and as the new queen bee stared at her, she realized that this majestic bee was her mother. The mother queen bee began to speak, and the new queen bee listened attentively, nodding her head in understanding. Meanwhile, Seojun was still sleeping, oblivious to the joyful reunion happening in the cave. It seemed like nothing could wake him up. Mother and child queen bees started to fly, and we saw them joyfully circling around the cave. The baby queen bee followed her mommy closely, and the mother bee couldn't stop smiling as she watched over her child. All the while, Seojun remained in peaceful slumber. The baby queen bee finally greeted her mother, and her mother warmly returned the greeting. The baby bee buzzingly flew toward Seojun with an excited and happy expression, even though he was still sleeping. She approached Seojun's face and began rubbing her cheek against his, her tiny body filled with joy. In response to this unexpected wake-up call, Seojun mumbled, "Bee, and slowly woke up. Startled and confused, Seojun was met with multiple system notifications. As his sleepiness vanished, he was shocked by what he read. The system notified him that the new queen bee had recognized him as her daddy, and his beekeeping skill had leveled up from 2 to 3. This left Seojun both puzzled and intrigued. He desperately looked around, searching for the queen bee, expressing how badly he wanted to see her. The scene then shifted, and we saw that Ox number 3 had finally brought the corn leaves and proudly presented them to the Minotaur king. The confused Minotaur king asked where he found them. Ox number 3 explained that he had acquired them from the Crimson Bear's territory, where there was an abandoned area with these leaves. The Minotaur king carefully examined the corn leaves, noting that they looked different from what he had eaten before. These plants were unfamiliar to him, and they appeared too scarce to be shared with others. Then we learned that Ox number 3 had eaten all the corn leaves while returning, and he could only manage to bring back a single corn leaf. Hearing this, the Minotaur king was left speechless, his face filled with annoyance and uncertainty about how to react. Now, returning to the present, the Minotaur king held a piece of the green corn leaf in his hand, clenching his fist with a sad expression. He acknowledged that their clan had a big appetite, so it was understandable. Out of curiosity, the Minotaur king decided to take a small bite of the corn leaf, noting its sweet aroma. However, the moment he chewed the corn leaf, an electrifying sensation surged through his body and a thick white saliva oozed from his mouth. With sparkling eyes and a delighted expression, he exclaimed that it was incredibly delicious, almost divine. He felt an overflow of energy. With great excitement and wide-open eyes, the Minotaur king patted Ox number 3 on the shoulder, praising him for his discovery. He expressed that if they could somehow obtain a large supply of this grass, their clan wouldn't suffer from food shortages anymore. If they could cultivate it on their land, all their problems would be solved. However, with a serious expression and a gaze directed to the south, the Minotaur king pondered how this magical grass grew in the Crimson Bear's territory and how they could obtain more of it. Then his expression became sad as he mentioned how badly he wanted to go there and bring back as much of this magical grass as possible. However, he couldn't go to other monsters' territory while leaving the waypoint, as other monsters might attack them, and they were currently weak, so his clan members would not be able to survive. The Minotaur king urgently summoned Ox number 3, who arrived in a panic, fearing he would receive a scolding for eating the corn leaves. The Minotaur king pointed his finger toward Ox number 3 and shouted, making it clear that his new mission was to find the exact source of this magical grass. His excited face turned serious as he continued, emphasizing that if Ox number 3 discovered that someone was intentionally growing this magical grass, he needed to find out their identity. Before the Minotaur king could finish his sentence, Ox number 3 intervened. He raised his hand and began to yawn, his eyes closing as he explained that after eating so much grass, he was feeling incredibly sleepy, and he mentioned that he intended to take a nap before proceeding. Hearing this, the Minotaur king swiftly pulled out his great axe and shouted at Ox number 3 to hurry and leave, threatening to cut him into pieces, and Ox number 3 ran as fast as he could, saying he will sleep when he get back from his mission. The scene then shifted, and we saw that Theo had reached the 38th floor. Dongshik and his companions rushed toward Theo, accompanied by other hunters. The hunters questioned why Theo was late, speculating that he might have gone to another floor to sell his goods. Theo stood proudly and apologized, explaining that he had some important matters to attend to. He hinted that he had brought something special, surprising everyone. Dongshik asked Theo what could be more special than his already exceptional cherry tomatoes. Theo proudly revealed a red cherry tomato, emphasizing that it was even more special than his usual ones, as it's a D-rank cherry tomato. The sight of the D-rank cherry tomato left everyone in shock. Amid the astonishment, the big melon girl couldn't help but express her delight, finding Theo's reaction adorable. Each person held a piece of the D-rank cherry tomato, closely examining it. He discovered that this tomato reduced 20 grams of fat, twice the usual 10 grams, increased mana boost from 0.1 to 0.2, and had a longer shelf life of 60 days. Dongshik, in a state of speechlessness, contemplated the potential impact of this magical cherry tomato once it left the tower. He foresaw that it could cause quite a stir outside. Without further ado, Theo proudly unveiled a bucket made of onion leaves, filled to the brim with D-rank cherry tomatoes. He announced that he would be selling a total of 2,000 cherry tomatoes in batches of 400. with 5 rounds in total. As soon as he finished speaking, the hunters began bidding fervently. The initial bid of 70 quickly escalated to 90 and beyond. After an intense hour, the auction concluded, and Theo had successfully sold all his cherry tomatoes. Holding bags filled with tower coins, he chuckled with flushed cheeks. He declared that with this trade, his profits would exceed 1,000 tower coins. Moreover, it would enable him to register as a high-grade wandering merchant. Standing proudly, Theo held his head high and laughed heartily. He stated that once he achieved the status of a high-grade wandering merchant, all restrictions would be lifted. He looked forward to the day when Seojun's crops would be mentioned in the system notifications as desired by Seojun himself. He even jestingly contemplated that Seojun might confer upon him the title of chairman, granting him the authority to command Seojun. As Theo was lost in his daydreams, the big melon girl approached him and asked if he wanted to take a picture with her. Theo, with a hint of arrogance, thought to himself that he must be so famous that everyone wants to be around him as soon as they spot him. He opened his eyes with a flourish, proudly extending his paw. He confidently declared that anyone who wanted to touch his paws should form a line and be prepared with a suitable reward. However, before he could finish his sentence, he realized that only the big melon girl stood before him. She wore an awkward expression, and behind her, there was nothing but the wind-blown leaves. Perplexed, Theo started searching for the crowd, wondering where his adoring fans were. The big melon girl explained that because Theo hadn't been on the 38th floor for days and their food supplies were running low, most of the residents had left. Only a few remained. Hearing this, Theo was shocked, his mouth hanging open. He felt a pang of hurt pride because it seemed that no one wanted to touch his paws anymore. To console him, the big melon girl offered Theo some chores, explaining that it wasn't that he was unpopular. People had left due to the shortage of supply. Theo, with an innocent and sad expression, gazed at his paws, wondering if they no longer had the power to attract people. He had hoped to receive many things from humans in exchange for letting them touch his paws, which would have boosted his chances of becoming a chairman. But now it seemed like that might not happen. Just then, 2 girls approached Theo, excitedly exclaiming that he was Theo, the wandering cat. They came closer, stating that Theo was just as cute as they had seen on Instagram. They asked if they could also take pictures with him. Now Theo was utterly confused, asking the 2 girls what this Instagram thing was all about. With enthusiasm, the girls eagerly showed their phone screens to Theo and began explaining everything about smartphones and Instagram. As they went on, Theo's eyes sparkled with great excitement. He suddenly got a brilliant idea. In the previous episode, we witnessed the hatching of our new queen bee. As soon as she hatched, she affectionately approved Seojun as her daddy and rubbed her cheek against Seojun's. Following this adorable moment, she met with the mommy queen bee, and they both had a wonderful time together. However, just before Seojun woke up, the baby queen bee flew away, leaving him bewildered. Afterward, upon sniffing and tasting the corn leaves from the Minotaur king, he went absolutely wild, feeling like he was experiencing the effects of marijuana. In his state of euphoria, he ordered Ox number 3 to go and find the person responsible for growing this magical marijuana plant, no matter what. Meanwhile, Theo had a brilliant idea after seeing 2 girls' phones where his photos were posted on Instagram. Now, Theo was looking at his Instagram profile where multiple photos of him were posted, and he had amassed 23,040 followers. Curiously, he turned to the big melon girl and asked if the 2 girls came to find him because they saw his images on an app called Instagram. The big melon girl explained that yes, and she apologized sincerely for uploading Theo's images without his permission. Theo continued to stare at the Instagram profile in complete silence, while the big melon girl stood there anxiously, worrying that Theo might be angry about the unauthorized uploads. Before she could say anything, Theo suddenly turned and exclaimed, "Of course she should be sorry. Why didn't she tell me something like this existed?" The big melon girl was taken aback, wondering how to calm Theo's apparent anger. However, before she could respond, Theo placed one hand on his head and struck a cute pose, extending one foot forward. He then handed the phone back to the big melon girl, instructing her to hurry up and start taking pictures of him to upload to Instagram. This unexpected reaction left the big melon girl utterly shocked and clueless about what to do next. Then Theo started giving multiple poses, ranging from cool and confident to cute and innocent, making it look like he was asking for help. He stretched both his hands, winked mischievously, and struck a naughty pose. The big melon girl continued to take picture after picture as Theo posed enthusiastically. After hours of taking pictures, even the big melon girl started melting at Theo's cool poses, calling them too cute and adorable. Theo told the big melon girl that she could do whatever she wanted with the photos of him once she reached home at bathroom. But for now, she should focus on taking more pictures. Finally, Theo struck a killer pose, raising both of his hands and winking his right eye. He announced that if anyone wanted to meet this cute and cool wandering merchant, Theo, they could find him on the 38th floor. He urged everyone watching the video to follow him on Instagram before coming to meet him. With a playful threat, he counted down from 3, 2, 1, and exclaimed that everyone should subscribe to the channel, or he would be mad at them, and today's goal was set at 5,000 likes, so please like and subscribe the channel. After the intense photo shoot session, Theo was heading back to Seojun, stretching his arms and feeling quite satisfied. He mentioned how the photo shoot went well, and how crazy it was that 23,000 people were now following him on Instagram. He wondered what would happen if even more people started following him and coming to him after watching the video. With confidence, Theo stated that he could already hear the sounds of hunters rushing to meet him. He planned to seize this opportunity to gain maximum rewards, and at this rate, he believed he could reach the chairman position in no time. Theo began to laugh, his cheeks turning red as he daydreamed about how he would command Seojun once he became the chairman. However, his daydream was abruptly interrupted as a strong gust of wind nearly pushed Theo back. He clutched his ears in irritation and demanded to know who it was. He had worked hard to straighten his fur, but now everything seemed ruined. Angrily, Theo turned around to find 2 giant silver-furred wolves, each standing at 5 meters tall with large claws glaring at him. Upon seeing the 2 giant wolves, Theo's face turned pale, and he quickly assumed a defensive position, looking terrified. But things were about to get worse for Theo. He heard loud footsteps behind him, and as he slowly turned back, he saw an even larger wolf than the previous 2. This wolf stood at a towering 7 meters tall and glared at Theo with a deadly, serious expression that seemed to promise his imminent demise. Theo was too frightened to utter a single word, standing there with his mouth open, sweat covering his entire body. The 7-meter wolf smashed its giant claws beside Theo, shaking the ground. With an angry and fierce look, the silver wolf leader slowly brought its head closer to Theo, growling and displaying its sharp teeth. In a deep voice, it asked Theo if he was the wandering merchant who had bought the straw hat at the smithy in the merchant district. But Theo was so scared that even the slightest growl might make him pee himself at that moment. Theo, still shaking, finally gathered the courage to speak, though his voice trembled. He tried to say something, but the words were barely coming out of his mouth. Seeing Theo's unresponsiveness, the silver wolf leader growled loudly, using a threatening tone to demand answers from him. It addressed Theo as a puny cat and demanded to know where the straw hat he had bought in the smithy was now. The leader warned Theo that if he remained silent, they would tear him apart and chop him into small pieces. The other 2 wolves joined in, growling and menacingly threatening Theo. He was in a terrible condition, already scared out of his wits, and now he had started to cry. But then, something unexpected happened. Suddenly, a rock-like object flew and landed between them, startling everyone. From that peculiar stone, a foul smell began to emanate, filling the entire area. The silver wolves had highly sensitive noses, so the stinky smell overwhelmed them. They closed their eyes and blocked their noses to escape the unpleasant odor. Even Theo had to hold his nose, as the smell was too strong for him. From the midst of the smoky, foul-smelling cloud, a mysterious figure appeared, glaring at Theo. Suddenly, the mysterious figure grabbed Theo's hand, startling him. She introduced herself as Zerath, the newbie merchant whom Theo had helped before. Then she placed her finger to her lips, signaling Theo to remain silent. In the next moment, as the wolves were occupied trying to cope with the smell, Zerath, still holding Theo's hand, started running into the jungle. Theo followed her with a surprised expression on his face. As the smoke screen slowly faded away, the wolves noticed Theo and someone else running. Seeing this, the wolf leader shouted at them to stop, warning that things would not end well for them. He hurriedly ordered his subordinates to follow and capture them no matter what. However, the 2 subordinates were lying on the ground, holding their noses and shouting for help to escape the stinky smell. They felt like they might die from the odor, leaving the wolf leader standing alone, holding his head and wincing in discomfort. This time, they had failed to catch Theo, and their mission had failed due to that mysterious figure. The scene then shifted, showing Theo and Zerath standing in the middle of the jungle, trying to catch their breath. Theo was still panting heavily, while Zerath let out a sigh of relief. She mentioned that they wouldn't be able to chase them for now, at least. Theo, with a worried expression, thanked Zareth, stating that something terrible would have happened to him if it weren't for her. Zareth replied with a smile, saying it was nothing, as Theo had also saved her once when she was in trouble. It was only natural for her to help Theo in return when he was in trouble. Hearing this, Theo happily started patting Zareth's shoulder, saying she is the nicest person he has met in the tower since his first crush. However, he added that he's a changed man now, a Giga Chad, and they should remain best friends, nothing more. Then Theo asked Zareth if she liked grilled fish and suggested they could go for a little walk. As they talked for a while, Zareth, seeing that Theo had become a little more comfortable with her, asked if Theo would be kind enough to give her some guidance on how to become a great merchant like him. Theo prepared his bag and replied that it's no problem at all. He will definitely guide Zareth, and they should go now, and with that, Zareth thanked Theo. Then, as they walked together, Zareth suggested to Theo that they should head to the merchant district, and she knew the best shortcut to get there quickly. However, Theo replied that first, he needed to go to the merchant guild and apply for a promotion to become a first-class mid-level merchant. After that, they could go to the merchant district and enjoy grilled fish. Hearing this, Zareth was genuinely shocked, and in her astonishment, she held her mouth and exclaimed, "Did Theo say first-class, mid-level merchant?" She then asked in a surprised tone how Theo, who was just a low-level merchant when she last met him, had reached the level of first-class mid-level merchant in just 1 month. Moreover, Theo had been a newbie only a few months ago. Upon hearing this, Theo maintained a neutral expression and asked Zareth how she knew that he was a newbie a few months ago. Zareth realized she had revealed more information than she should have and started to panic, realizing that she couldn't afford to be caught as an agent of the Wandering Merchant Secret Police Force, or her mission would not be completed. Then, Theo folded both his arms, looking suspicious, and asked Zareth why she was acting strangely and seemed suspicious. Zareth, trying to maintain a neutral expression, attempted to explain that it wasn't what Theo was thinking. But before she could say anything more, Theo shouted in anger, calling Scarum a bastard, and revealed that Scarum had divulged all the information about Theo when they first met. Bewildered by the situation, Zareth replied that yes, it was indeed Scarum who had shared everything about Theo without being asked for it. Hearing this, Theo became even angrier and started cursing Scarum, vowing to teach him a lesson when they met. Zareth, on the other hand, felt relieved that Theo appeared to be innocent and easy to manipulate. Then Zareth, with an innocent face, asked Theo how he managed to gather 1,000 tower coins in such a short period of time. She mentioned that it was an amount she couldn't even imagine making in her entire life as a low-grade merchant. She was curious about what Theo was selling to earn so many tower coin. On the flip side, Zareth felt a little worried. She wondered if Theo would be willing to share his trade secrets. She suspected that there might be someone very powerful behind Theo, providing him with premium products for trade. She believed that this item could be very dangerous or even illegal. If she found out about this item, she planned to arrest the backer first and give Theo a lighter punishment, as he seemed somewhat innocent and manipulated by the mysterious backer. Then Theo, with an innocent face, replied, "I sell cherry tomatoes, Naya." Hearing the words cherry tomatoes, Zareth first stood in her place in a state of shock and surprise, trying to process what she had just heard. Then, with a puzzled and surprised expression, her mouth open in disbelief, she asked, "Is Theo trying to say those round little red fruits that thing?" Theo confirmed by saying, "Yes, it's the exact same thing." Theo then attempted to check his bag to find a cherry tomato, but he had sold them all that day. He promised Zareth that he would show her what a cherry tomato looked like the next time they met. With that, Theo started moving forward, suggesting that they should go, as the giant wolf might return if they stayed in the same place for too long. Zareth remained in a state of shock, her mouth still open without saying anything. Finally, Zareth came to her senses, pondering how in the world Theo could have earned 1,000 tower coins by selling nothing but cherry tomatoes. Was Theo lying? However, he didn't seem like the type of guy who would tell a lie. Zareth continued to follow Theo, her serious expression revealing her determination to unravel the mystery of how Theo had made 1,000 tower coins by selling mere cherry tomatoes. Meanwhile, outside the tower in the gourmet company, the CEO was holding a D-grade cherry tomato, observing it closely. He decided to taste the cherry tomato, maintaining a serious expression, and commented that this cherry tomato indeed tasted more delicious than the E-grade one. Then he turned to see a person slowly placing a cherry tomato plant full of cherry tomatoes on a table. The chairman inquired if there was any good news, and Jenny, with a smiling face, replied that as he could see, The seed they planted from the E-grade cherry tomato had grown into a normal cherry tomato plant. The chairman, gazing at the cherry tomatoes, expressed that he had expected as much as the item was from the tower, making it impossible to grow on Earth. He then inquired about the progress of the farming project on the first floor, to which Jenny confidently replied that they had already sown 100 E-grade cherry tomatoes on the first floor, and 10 plants had already germinated and were ready to harvest. Hearing the chairman's words, he became genuinely happy and praised Jenny, acknowledging her hard work. Jenny, in return, credited the chairman for making it all possible. The chairman mentioned that he had already hired top-grade hunters to protect the farmland on the first floor, and once they successfully grew the cherry tomatoes, he would become the richest man on Earth. Meanwhile, Seojun was busy harvesting the cherry tomatoes, with the queen bee sitting on his head. All his rabbit friends were helping him, unaware of what was happening outside the tower. In the previous episode, we saw how Theo, after encountering Instagram for the first time, got a brilliant idea. He proceeded to take multiple cute photos of himself alongside the big melon girl. Then he recorded a video of himself striking a cute pose and announced that anyone who wanted to meet him could do so on the 38th floor. As Theo was on his way home to Seojun, an unexpected incident occurred. A group of Silver Tribe wolves attacked Theo and began to threaten him, demanding information about the straw hat. They made it clear that if Theo didn't comply, they would kill him. The situation was on the brink of turning chaotic when something unforeseen happened. A smokescreen enveloped the entire area, and police officer Zareth came to Theo's rescue. She managed to save him from the dire situation. Meanwhile, the CEO of the government company and Jenny were filled with joy as they celebrated their successful planting of magical cherry tomato seeds on the first floor of the tower. They believed that this move would allow them to mass-produce the magical cherry tomatoes. The scene then shifts, and we see a wandering merchant officer handing Theo a silver token. Theo happily holds the coin in his hands, and the officer warmly congratulates Theo for getting promoted to a high mid-level merchant. Theo, filled with excitement and wearing a warm smile, raises his hand and proudly shouts that he has finally become a high mid-level merchant. Today's like goal is 5,100 likes. Please like and subscribe to support the channel. Now let's continue. Theo turns back, proudly showing his silver badge around his chest, and smiles as Zerath congratulates him, calling him the best. Theo replies with a thankful nod and mentions that their work is done for now, and they need to head to the trading market. He has something important to buy. Upon hearing the term trading market, Zerath's facial expression turns serious. She knows that the trading market is a place where only mid-high level merchants and higher level merchants can enter. It's one of the largest trading arenas in the entire tower. In this trading market, there's an auction house where one can buy various items, ranging from farming equipment to crafting materials to even underwear and condoms. You can find almost anything there as long as you're willing to pay for it. After a while, Theo and Zareth finally reached the trading hall. As Zareth followed Theo from behind, she couldn't help but feel a bit worried. While Theo walked confidently without a care in the world, Zareth narrowed her eyes in deep thought. This place was unlike the low-level markets that Theo used to visit. It was on a whole different level compared to the junkyards Theo frequented. Zareth was genuinely curious about what skills Theo would use in this new environment. However, before she could finish her thoughts, Theo suddenly stopped, announcing that they had reached their destination. He seemed genuinely interested in the shop in front of him. As Zareth glanced at the shop, she noticed a pouch symbol on the signboard. She then realized this was just an ordinary shop selling daily household items. Without wasting any time, Theo and Zareth entered the shop. Theo picked up a saw, some needles, threads, a frying pan, and a pot, placing them on the counter. He asked the store owner about the total cost for all these items. Zareth continued to observe Theo, and she couldn't help but notice that the store owner was a hyena with big teeth and sharp claws. Before Theo could say anything further, Zareth started speaking. She asked if Theo was buying these household items to resell them on other floors at a higher price. She expressed her concern, saying it was a really bad idea because these items were not in demand and no one would buy them. Theo casually replied that these items were not for resale. He needed them for someone else. He emphasized that he only sold cherry tomatoes for a living. Hearing this, Zareth frustratedly held her head and exclaimed, "Cherry tomatoes again!" She was clearly stressed, thinking back to when Theo had told her that he had reached a high-level mid-merchant status and collected 1,000 tower coins by selling cherry tomatoes. At that time, she had thought Theo was just messing with her. as he didn't want to reveal his merchant secrets. Now she wasn't sure if he was telling the truth or not. The store owner, Haina, with a smiling face, said, "The total bill is 2.4 tower coins only." Zareth, upon hearing this amount, paused for a moment. Then she glanced at the utensils with an annoyed face, thinking that these pots and needles were much cheaper than 2.4 tower coins. Even if you combined all the things that Theo had bought, their total bill should not be more than 2 tower coins. In her imagination, she pictured the store owner, Haina, wearing a heavy suit of armor with a wicked smile, while Theo stood there in poor armor looking like a novice who didn't know anything. She concluded by saying that the store owner was ripping Theo off. With a serious expression, Zareth was pondering how Theo would counter this professional merchant. But before she could come up with any ideas, a voice echoed saying, "Give me a discount." In her imagination, she saw Theo launching an attack on the Haina shop owner. In one swift slash, Theo disarmed the store owner, leaving him in shock. Then, she saw Theo in reality slamming his hand on the store counter and demanding a discount with a dead serious expression, glaring into the stone owner's eyes. This left Zareth speechless, with her mouth hanging open. She had expected Theo to use some mighty merchant skill, but he was just being reckless once again. The Haina store owner, still maintaining his warm smile, replied that he was already selling the goods at the lowest possible price. He suggested that Theo could go and check the market prices at other stores, as they were also selling at the same price. He emphasized that the quality of the goods in his store was the best in the entire trading market, making the price reasonable. Theo, however, just stood there, glaring at the store owner without uttering a single word. After a while, still maintaining his sweet smile, the store owner, while rubbing his hands, decided to make an offer. He mentioned that since Theo was new to his store and appeared to be a gentleman and a nice guy, he would give a big discount and sell all the goods for 2.2 tower coins. But from Zareth's perspective, the Haina store owner appeared to be smiling wickedly and excitedly, attempting to overcharge Theo for the products. She explained that this store owner was playing a mental game where they initially set high prices for goods and then gradually reduced them, making customers believe they were getting a good deal when, in reality, they were being fooled into paying higher prices. Zareth imagined the store owner with deadly red eyes brutally attacking Theo, with Theo barely dodging the attacks. With a worried expression, Zareth thought that this store owner was not easygoing and was definitely a veteran merchant. This time, Theo might not get away unscathed. However, a voice echoed around the shop, demanding more of a discount with a deep tone. In Zareth's imagination, she saw Theo forcefully slashing the store owner's armor with his shabby sword. Back in reality, Theo continued to shout for a bigger discount, leaving the store owner bewildered and unsure of what to do next. The store owner, Haina, with a poker face, replied to Theo that he was already selling the goods at wholesale prices and barely making any profit from the trade. He explained that since Theo seemed like a nice guy, he couldn't lower the price any further. Theo, realizing that the store owner was not lowering the price, Theo decided to use the legendary technique that Seojun had taught him. He referred to it as the technique that every Asian mom uses, the ultimate bargain technique of moms, and with that, Theo turned and began walking away. With a confident tone, he stated that he didn't want to buy anything and would just go home. He called for Zareth to come with him, leaving her clearly confused by the unfolding events. Meanwhile, the store owner was left even more confused and shocked by this unexpected turn of events. Then, Zareth stopped Theo and asked him with a worried tone why he wasn't going to buy the goods. Theo, still maintaining his confident demeanor, replied that since the store owner wasn't offering a bigger discount, he would buy the products, but he had seen another shop nearby where he could definitely get a better deal. Hearing this, the store owner became annoyed, let out a sigh, and stopped Theo. He remarked that Theo was impatient and had lost the bargaining battle. He agreed to sell all the goods for 2 tower coins, so Theo didn't have to go to the store next door. However, Theo simply glared at the store owner confidently, came closer, and raised his hand. In an arrogant tone, he declared that he would only buy the products for 1.8 tower coins, or else he would leave the shop. This statement left Zareth in shock, her soul seemingly leaving her body as she stood there, like a statue. The store owner, thinking that Theo was not to be underestimated and looked like a professional merchant, considered future potential trades and decided to maintain a friendly relationship. He reluctantly agreed to sell all the goods for 1.8 tower coins, even though he didn't want to. Theo happily thanked the store owner, while Zareth remained in a speechless stupor. In the next moment, as Theo was making the payment and chatting with the store owner, Zareth stood behind, still in a state of shock. She couldn't help but wonder what legendary technique Theo had used to defeat the store owner, a professional merchant who had lost to Theo, a new high mid-level merchant. Zareth's imagination ran wild as she envisioned Theo standing triumphantly on the defeated store owner, holding his sword on his shoulder with a confident smile. Now, seeing all this, Zareth was just wondering. Zareth herself was from a noble merchant family, and she received bargaining education from an early age. But she had never heard or seen something like this. Glaring at the confident Theo, who had completed all his purchases, she said they should leave the shop now. She was thinking, is this naive-looking cat really a pro merchant? Did Theo really make 1,000 tower coins just by selling cherry tomatoes? If that's true, then this is surely a historical moment of a genius merchant being born. Meanwhile, Theo was smiling with his heart content, and he was singing in his mind, happy that the discount trick Seojun had taught him had worked. He had also bought all the things that Seojun had told him to buy. Then the scene shifted, and we saw Theo and Zareth walking in the trading market. Suddenly, Zareth stopped and said that she would be leaving now. Theo turned back, asking why she was leaving so early and mentioning that they hadn't even had a meal. He was about to treat Zareth, but she replied with a kind and warm smile that she had already troubled Theo enough and didn't want to bother him further. She expressed her gratitude for everything she had learned from him, and apologized if she had caused any inconvenience or bothered him in any way. Theo looked confused and asked what she meant by teaching her anything special, as he didn't recall doing so. Then Zareth, still maintaining her smile, replied, "It's nothing." She then warned Theo to be careful from now on, as the Silver Wolf tribe might attack him again in the future. With this final goodbye, Zareth started walking away from Theo. He watched her go for a while and then, with a mischievous smile, said, "What a strange fox she was." Theo turned back, raised both his hands high, and started walking forward while singing and expressing his desire to return to the cave quickly for a good nap, as he was feeling really sleepy. The scene then shifted to the building of the Tower Police. Inside that building, Zareth was writing something. She stopped writing, closed her eyes, and sat at her chair. Just then, her assistant entered her room, informing her that the director wanted to meet Zareth to inquire about the stolen straw hat. Zareth handed a document to her assistant, indicating that she would visit the director. The assistant, after examining the document, asked Zareth if it was related to the wandering merchant cat they suspected of being a smuggler. Zareth, dressed in her police uniform, confirmed that it was. However, according to her investigation, she believed that Theo was not a smuggler but a genuinely good and honest merchant. She instructed her assistant to inform everyone not to spy on Theo and to let them know that Theo was innocent of smuggling. Zareth, fully dressed and looking out at the sky from her window with a proud smile, said, "For the first time in a long time I met a real merchant," while her assistant listened with a proud expression. Then the scene shifted, and we are back to Seojun. He was once again placing corn leaves on top of the peanut seeds, and the baby bear was helping him. After a few hours of hard work, they successfully covered the entire farm with corn leaves to lock in the moisture. Seojun stood there with a proud look, and the white rabbit was busy watering the peanut seeds. Suddenly, from behind Seojun, the warrior rabbit came rushing and shouting something in panic. The warrior rabbit was in a frenzy, trying to convey a message to Seojun, but Seojun couldn't understand a single word. Meanwhile, the chubby rabbit stood behind the warrior rabbit, raising both hands with a smile. After a while, Seojun finally understood that the warrior rabbit was pointing towards the ponds. Seojun, with the queen bee sitting on his shoulder, reached the pond and gazed at it intently, trying to figure out what was happening. The warrior rabbit and the cart were also fixated on the pond, and the white rabbit, looking a bit scared, was hiding beside Seojun's foot. Inside the pond, there were crayfish-like monsters with red and juicy bodies. As Seojun finally noticed the crayfish, he was deeply shocked and surprised. Seojun and all his monster pets were just staring at the mysterious crayfish in astonishment. Seojun wondered how these crayfish-like monsters had ended up in the pond. He pondered whether they had come through the hole he had seen a few days back. However, he immediately dismissed the thought, and instead imagined a plate filled with delicious and juicy crayfish. He decided that he would make the most mouth-watering dish with these crayfish that no one had ever tasted before. As Seojun daydreamed about the delectable crayfish dish, he couldn't help but drool with anticipation. The white rabbit and the warrior rabbit were lost in their own fantasies, imagining the savory crayfish delights. The queen bee couldn't contain her excitement, looking forward to indulging in Seojun's special and juicy creation. Without wasting another minute, Seojun prepared to catch the crayfish. He took out his dagger, and the warrior rabbit wielded his hammer. Seojun stood there confidently, ready to attack the unsuspecting crayfish, who had no idea what was about to befall them. The other rabbit was equally excited, and the queen bee buzzed with anticipation. In the next moment, they began their hunt to capture and prepare the crayfish for a delicious meal. In the previous episode, we saw how Theo, after receiving his high-level mid-merchant badge, went to the trading market, where only high-level merchants can enter. Zareth also followed Theo, hoping to figure out if he was truly a professional merchant or a scam. There, Zareth witnessed an intense battle between the store owner and Theo during bargaining. Theo employed the ultimate technique that Seojun had taught him, the Asian mom bargaining technique, and successfully defeated the store owner, leaving Zareth shocked. After this encounter, Zareth verified and wrote in her report that Theo was indeed a genuine pro-merchant. She realized that Theo's bargaining skills were even more advanced than her own, despite her noble merchant background. She marveled at how Theo, at such a young age, excelled in bargaining, surpassing her abilities. Meanwhile, in his cave, Seojun made a new discovery. Crawfish had somehow found their way to the pond, and Seojun and his buddies got excited as they planned to catch them and create incredible, tasty dishes. Immense concentration held his dagger and stared at the crayfish. Behind him, the rabbit families watched him with curiosity. Then, the crayfish, after studying Seojun for a moment, suddenly lunged at him to attack. But Seojun was no longer the loser. His stats were all at high-level hunter. With a swift slash, he effortlessly killed all the crayfish that had leaped to attack him. The system notified Seojun that he had gained 30 XP, and the warrior rabbit was clapping in excitement, ready to join the fight. So guys, today's like goal is 6,800 likes. Please like and subscribe to support the channel. Now let's continue. Suddenly, more crayfish jumped towards Seojun to attack, and the warrior rabbit approached from behind, holding his hammer high with excitement. Seojun turned back and, with enthusiasm, ordered the warrior rabbit to deal with the crayfish. The warrior rabbit began a barrage of attacks, hammering the crayfish one by one, instantly defeating them without breaking a sweat. After a while, the chubby rabbit and the husband rabbit were transporting the dead crayfish in the cart. They were followed by the other rabbit, each carrying a dead crayfish one by one, and transporting them to a spot near the campfire. The sickle rabbit, armed with his razor sickle, prepared to peel the crayfish's skin. The wife rabbit and the baby rabbits watched from behind with anticipation and sparkling eyes. However, as the sickle rabbit tried to cut the shell of the crayfish, even after several attempts with all his might, he couldn't make a scratch on the crayfish's body. The mommy rabbits, noticing this, asked the sickle rabbit what happened and if there was something wrong with his sickle. The sickle rabbit nodded his head and explained that his sickle was fine, but the crayfish's shell was so strong that he couldn't pierce it. Seojun, holding 2 crayfish in his hand with a smile on his face, approached from behind and explained that even on Earth, it's really challenging to cut through the shell of a crayfish. In the tower, it seemed logical that the shells of the crayfish would be as hard as steel. So Seojun suggested cooking the crayfish on the campfire first. When the crayfish were fully cooked, their shells would loosen, making it easier to separate the meat from the shell. The sickle rabbit nodded in response. Then, Seojun unwrapped 3 more perfectly cooked crayfish and placed them in front of him on the onion leaves. He held one in his hand, ready to peel the skin off, and all the rabbits were waiting in anticipation. Seojun slowly applied gentle force to split the crayfish in half, and as he did, some of the juice started to splatter. The worker rabbit, the chubby rabbit, and the sickle rabbit stared in amazement with their mouths open. Finally, Seojun turned the crayfish's head and, with a gentle force, split the crayfish into 2 parts. Inside, the chewy and juicy golden meat sparkled. Seojun exclaimed in excitement with his mouth open, saying how juicy it looked. After smelling the heavenly scent of the meat, the rabbits were hypnotized and eagerly awaited their turn to take a bite. Seojun happily offered a portion of the crayfish's heavenly flesh, and they all took it excitedly, stretching out their hand. As they all took a bite, as much as the scent was delicious, the meat was even more delightful. They hadn't eaten something like this in their whole lives, and they were really happy. While savoring large bites of the crayfish, Seojun chewed the meat and commented on its taste. He mentioned that the crayfish tasted exactly the same as those on Earth, but with a bit more juiciness. The seasoning was perfect, with a hint of tanginess from the cherry tomatoes and a slight saltiness, making it incredibly delicious. Behind Seojun, His rabbit family was also enjoying their crayfish meals. The chubby rabbit was munching on a whole large piece, taking huge bites and wearing a joyful expression. Meanwhile, the wife rabbit was picking the empty shells of the crayfish. Seojun noticed this and stopped the wife rabbit, telling her not to throw away the shells as they could still be useful. The wife rabbit looked a bit confused and asked what he meant while holding a crayfish shell. Seojun picked up the crayfish head shell and explained that these seemingly wasteful shells contain delicious, fatty oils. He took a piece of crayfish flesh, dipped it into the fatty oil, and mentioned that eating the crayfish meat with this special juicy oil would enhance the taste by tenfold. As Seojun took a bite, he instantly regretted that he didn't have soju. If he did, this would be a really incredible combo. While the warrior rabbit watched Seojun eating this weird combination, he thought, why not? He also decided to try this strange-looking gooey substance from the crayfish's head. With courage, the warrior rabbit approached Seojun, and Seojun handed him some of the crayfish's oil. The warrior rabbit slowly dipped his hand into the weird oil. At first, it didn't look very appetizing to him, with its odd, sticky green appearance. He hesitated, having second thoughts about eating it. However, he decided to trust Seojun and took a lick of the strange substance. To his surprise, he instantly liked it. His eyes sparkled with delight as he discovered that it was nothing like he had expected. It was sweet and salty at the same time. Unable to resist, he started devouring the green oil mixed with crayfish organs and flesh. Seojun smiled warmly and advised the warrior rabbit to eat slowly, reminding him that the food wasn't going anywhere, and they had plenty more to enjoy. After that, we see Seojun preparing the crayfishes and asking his rabbit family if anyone wants more crayfish. The warrior rabbit is devouring the crayfish's brain while the chubby rabbit is busy eating his large share of crayfish, and the newly found crayfish's brain mixed with delicious oils. The mommy rabbit and the husband rabbit are busy feeding the baby rabbits, while the sickle rabbit watches with a little smile, and each and every one of them is really happy. Just then, from above the cave entrance, the baby bear comes shouting Seojun's name, which catches everyone's attention. Seojun, noticing the baby bear, tells the baby bear to wait, as he came at a really good time since they have many more crayfish, and he should also taste some. The baby bear, upon hearing this, starts cheering with both his hands up. After some time, Seojun cooks many crayfish and places them in front of the baby bear. The baby bear sees this delicious-looking meat and couldn't contain his excitement. Seojun, holding one crayfish in his hand, starts to explain to the baby bear that he has to first hold the crayfish's body and twist the head to separate the steel-like shell. Then he will be able to enjoy the meat inside. But before he could explain anything, the baby bear didn't listen and took a crayfish, munching on it like candy along with its steel-like shell. Seojun is left standing in shock, and in his shocked mental state, he just asks the baby bear if the meat is good. The baby bear nods in response with a bright, big smile, indicating that he likes it very much. Meanwhile, the scene shifts, and we are now on the second floor of the tower, the skeleton village. Here, the townhouses were burned and ruined, and hunters were mercilessly killing the skeleton villagers while the skeleton villagers were trying to run for their lives. All the skeleton villagers were running toward the village, from kid skeletons to women skeletons. While running, a skeleton villager fell, and the hunters were just behind them to kill them. The skeleton even begged the hunters to spare them, but the hunter with the dagger, with a single slash, chopped the skeleton's head, killing him instantly. The head of the skeleton flew and came toward the CEO of the gourmet company. Upon seeing the skeleton in anger and disgust, the CEO of the gourmet company smashed the skull under his foot. While looking at the scared and dead and running skeletons, he started to smile in enjoyment. As the chairman of the gourmet company, we will address him as Musclehead from now on. He came close to the hunter with the dagger. The dagger hunter explained that he and his team had successfully killed all the skeletons in this area, and now this land was all under their control. The Musclehead would not find any living skeleton villager here. Only dead skeletons remain in this village. Then the Musclehead asked the hunter if he had not captured or taken control of the entire second floor yet. The hunter, a little nervous, explained that he is really sorry, and he has only been able to capture half of the second floor so far. He assured the Musclehead that in no time he will take control of the entire second floor, and the Musclehead won't see even a single skeleton. The Musclehead, a little disappointed and annoyed, asked how much time it will take in total to capture the entire second floor. The hunter explained that even though they are only skeletons, they always roam in groups, and in a village there are at least 100 skeletons present. Moreover, on the second floor, there are more than 50 villages, and the second floor is a very large floor, so it will at least take a few weeks. The musclehead was hearing this in silence, his eyes fixed on opening his status window. Then, the musclehead transferred some data to the hunter, surprising him. When the hunter asked what this was, the musclehead explained with a proud face that these are all the people who took debt from his company and were unable to repay. He forcefully awakened them and made them hunters. The dagger hunter can use these people, and his task is to take control of this floor within 1 week. As the musclehead was leaving, the dagger hunter bowed, saying the work will be done. Then the musclehead finally reached the farmland that he and his team had created by planting Seojun's cherry tomatoes. The lead researcher welcomed the musclehead, and while showing the little farm where the magical cherry tomatoes were grown, she explained with a smile on her face that they had successfully grown the special magical cherry tomatoes. The cherry tomatoes had finally grown healthy and ripened, ready to be harvested. She invited the musclehead to pluck the first cherry tomato with his own hands. Hearing this, the musclehead, with a wicked smile glaring at the cherry tomatoes, exclaimed, "Finally!" With that, he gently plucked a cherry tomato, and after glaring at it for a while with confidence and an excited smile, took a bite and placed the cherry tomato inside his mouth. He slowly chewed the cherry tomato for a while, but then something unexpected happened. The musclehead's whole face turned pale, and suddenly he crouched and started to vomit, throwing up all the cherry tomatoes that he had chewed. All the researchers and the lead researcher lady got a little panicked and came close to the musclehead, asking if he was okay. Then, before the red-haired lady could do or say anything, the musclehead, still with a pained expression on his face, started to shout and scold everyone, saying, "What the hell is happening here?" This confusion left everyone bewildered. In their confusion, when the red-haired lady asked for an explanation, as she couldn't understand what he was trying to say, the musclehead started to shout even more. He held up a cherry tomato and yelled, "Can't she see that I clearly vomited the cherry tomato? That means the cherry tomato tastes disgusting." Hearing this, the red-haired researcher lady took the cherry tomato from the musclehead's hand, and she herself took a bite of the cherry tomato. All the other researchers also took a bite, and just like the musclehead, they started to vomit due to the cherry tomato's taste. The red-haired woman was also really shocked, saying they had used all the high-quality nutritional supplements and everything was top-notch. Even in their lab, they had successfully managed to grow the cherry tomato on Earth, but it was not this disgusting. Hearing all this, the musclehead realized that all his money and career would go to waste if he didn't grow the magical cherry tomatoes. He had already invested a large amount of money into this project. In frustration, he forcefully plucked some cherry tomatoes and then threw them on the ground in anger. He started stomping on them, and as he raised his foot, what he saw left him in terror and shock. There was not a single seed inside the cherry tomato. Well, this happened because Seojun had all the exclusive rights to all the crops he would grow, and no one in the world would be able to grow his crops without his permission. Meanwhile, we see Seojun sleeping like there's no tomorrow, with his mouth open and drooling. Above him, there is a theft in progress. Ox number 1 sneaked in quietly, seeing the onion leaves placed on top of the peanut seed. With a wicked smile, he picked some onion leaves and stared at them for a while. Then, with a warm smile, he started to munch on them, completely unaware that something terrible was approaching him. In the previous episode, we saw how Seojun slaughtered the crayfish and then cooked it with cherry tomatoes and corn, having a feast with his animal family. Meanwhile, on the second floor of the tower, the CEO of the gourmet company mercilessly slaughtered all the poor, innocent skeletons living in the village just because he was planning to farm Seojun's special cherry tomato. He successfully made a farm after slaughtering half of the innocent skeletons on the second floor. However, as he plucked the first cherry tomato and tasted it, he was left speechless as the taste was truly awful, like dog's shit. And the weird thing was that there was not a single seed in the cherry tomato, meaning they were gay. On the other hand, Ox number 3 was secretly stealing onion leaves while Seojun was sleeping. Now the CEO was sitting in a hut inside the 38th floor, glaring at the cherry tomato that his team had grown on the second floor. With an annoyed face, he exclaimed that without any seeds, how could they reproduce the cherry tomatoes, let alone improve their breed? The taste was also terrible, like dog poop. Then his facial expression became a bit more serious, and while holding his chin with a contemplative look, he suddenly remembered something. We are shown a flashback to 10 years ago when the musclehead was returning from his office and got sucked inside the black hole, accidentally entering the tower and becoming a player. The musclehead's dream was to become rich. Not just rich, but the richest human alive on Earth. He even wanted to keep Elon Musk as his driver. So, guys, we are very close to reaching 200,000 subscribers. To those who haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do subscribe and support the channel. Today's like goal is 6,000 likes. Thank you, as always, for your love and support. Now, let's continue. Inside the tower, he realized that the sun never sets, and there's 24-hour sunlight shining on the ground, creating a perfect environment for growing crops with high-quality soil. He got a brilliant idea. His first step toward becoming the richest man on Earth was to dominate and become #1 on the global food chain by growing high-quality crops inside the tower. Then, after returning from the tower, he explained his dream to his dad, and although skeptical, his dad agreed to fund his dream. Then he took all his father's company's money and started his project to grow crops inside the tower. He bought high-quality seeds and fertilizer, hired professional farmers, made them players, and guided them inside the tower for farming. But things didn't go according to his plan. After a few months, and repeated attempts to grow crops, not a single blade of grass sprouted on his farmland, let alone a crop. Seeing this, the musclehead was getting frustrated and desperate. He knelt on the ground, holding the soil, and started shouting, asking why. Even after investing all his father's company's money, trying hundreds of seedling methods, using high-quality seeds and fertilizers, and hiring professionals, not a single plant was growing. He was demanding answers while angrily gripping the soil. Then, after some time, an incident occurred. In the news, a report went viral stating that inside the tower, if hunters engaged in sexual activity, they would not get pregnant. For some reason, once a human enters the tower, their sperm loses the ability to pregnant a woman. Because of this, many couples were seen going inside the tower for their desires. Well, the musclehead, after hearing this news, realized that the same rule applied to crops. This was the reason he was not able to grow Earth's crops inside the tower. Crops were treated as foreign objects, and they also lost the ability to grow or reproduce. Even after all this, the musclehead didn't give up. He went on a quest to find all the merchants in the tower and started asking for fruits and vegetable seeds that grows inside the tower. His theory was that if the crops were grown inside the tower from the seed of the tower crops, he might be able to grow the crops himself. However, to his disappointment, all the merchants were willing to sell normal fruits and vegetables, but refused to sell crop seed. They explained that crop production was monopolized by a greedy and dangerous individual named Grid. Yes, it was the same guy who had hired the Silverwolves to find Theo and retrieve the Straw Hat. All the merchants told him that they could only sell the crops, not the seed, or Grid would kill them. Hearing this, the musclehead was left devastated and depressed, with a pale face and no options left. He had used almost all the money from his father's company, and as he had failed in his project, his father declared him a failure and beat the shit out of him after slammed his ass with iron rod 100 times, and his father removed his name from the company and left him on the street. Just like that, his dream of creating a farm inside the tower crumbled like breadcrumbs. Now, back in the present, the musclehead was deep in thought, glaring at the cherry tomato they had managed to grow from Seojun's cherry tomato seeds. Yes, the one that tasted like dog excrement. Then the musclehead suddenly stood up from his chair, and he immediately started shouting and ordering all his men to gather all the hunters on the 38th floor in front of him right now. He slammed a big pouch full of tower coins, shocking everyone. With a determined look on his face, he announced that it doesn't matter how much money he has to spend. He will successfully grow the crops inside the tower. They used E-grade tomatoes and made progress in at least growing a crop, so it's possible that if they try to grow again using the seeds of D-grade crops, the results might be different. While glaring at the cherry tomato while holding it in his hand, he continued saying, "Everyone has only one mission, and that is to find that wandering merchant cat and buy each and every D-grade cherry tomato he is holding." Then, with a tight grip, he squeezed the cherry tomato and started laughing wickedly, saying he will definitely succeed in becoming the richest man on Earth, make Elon Musk his driver, and show his father that he is not a useless son. Meanwhile, Theo was happily returning to the cave, thinking he would finally be able to become Uncle Theo again. However, he noticed something weird. Onion leaves were scattered on the ground. To inspect, Theo picked up an onion leaf and realized it was indeed the plant Seojun had grown inside the cave. He questioned why these leaves were lying outside the cave. but he didn't get any answers. Theo decided to collect all the onion leaves and ask Seojun once he reached the cave. He started picking up the onion leaves from the ground one by one as he moved forward. Suddenly, he bumped into something really hard. When Theo looked upward, he saw a large ox with a peculiar expression, as if it was enjoying something. The ox appeared to be sucking on one of the onion leaves. As ox number 3 noticed Theo, he turned down and realized it was a wandering merchant. He asked if Theo needed anything. Theo, with an angry expression, pointed his finger toward ox number 3 and asked where he found that leaf he was munching on like a lollipop. Ox number 3, sitting casually with a casual tone, pointed his finger toward Seojun's cave and replied that he found these leaves lying on the ground, so he took them. Hearing this, Theo started shouting while pointing his finger toward ox number 3, saying there was no way the onion leaves were left or thrown recklessly on the ground. He had observed Seojun for months, watching him create useful things from these onion leaves, from footplates to bowls and even ropes. He had also seen Seojun wiping his ass with these onion leaves after taking a poop, so there was no way Seojun would have thrown them on the ground without any reason. Theo continued, expressing his outrage at ox number 3 for stealing these precious leaves. However, upon hearing this, ox number 3 became furious. He declared that Minotaurs were a proud and honorable clan, and they never stole anything. He slammed his giant hand on the ground, shaking the entire area and creating a huge hole. Theo was thrown high into the air by the impact, but managed to dodge the attack, saving himself from being smashed. Still seething with anger, ox number 3 growled with veins bulging from his head, stating that even though Theo was a wandering merchant, he would not hesitate to kill him if he dared to accuse ox number 3 of stealing these leaves. It was a direct attack on the Minotaur clan's pride. Theo listened in fear, trembling and wearing a worried expression. Then, gathering a little courage, Theo stated that he was not lying and that he was an honest merchant who never lied. He stood up with even more courage, determined to protect his pride. In a loud voice, while pointing his finger toward ox number 3, he suggested that they should go to Seojun and ask him if he had really thrown these onion leaves on the ground or not. This way, the matter could be resolved without fighting. For a moment, ox number 3 listened to Theo's newfound courage. Then, his angry eyes gradually turned more normal, and he replied that this was indeed a good idea. He was ready to go and ask Theo to take him to Seojun. Theo, filled with enthusiasm, began to lead the way to Seojun's cave. He requested that ox number 2 follow him and refrain from eating or doing anything with the onion leaves until they cleared things up with Seojun. Ox number 3 silently followed Theo. After a while, they finally reached the entrance of the cave. Theo walked forward proudly, feeling like he had done a great job. Ox number 3 wore an annoyed expression, glaring at Theo and wondering why Seojun would have thrown these precious and magical grass on the ground to rot. However, suddenly, ox number 3, while holding his cheeks and with sparkling eyes, remembered that the Ox King had indeed instructed him to find out about the person who grew these magical grass. Now, he was about to meet that person, and he imagined the Ox King complimenting and rewarding him for his success. Lost in his daydream, he continued to follow Theo. Meanwhile, completely unaware of the events unfolding, Seojun continued to sleep soundly. Suddenly, a figure jumped from the cave entrance and landed on Seojun's stomach, causing him to spit out saliva from the impact and jolting him awake. In great pain and trembling, Seojun held his stomach, trying to recover from the shock. Theo, standing behind him, shouted at Seojun, urging him to get up and follow him immediately. Theo excitedly told Seojun that he had accomplished something remarkable, and Seojun would surely reward him when he saw what he had done. However, Seojun struggled to contain his anger due to the pain. After a moment, with the pain subsiding a bit, Seojun turned his head toward Theo and asked what the matter was. Smirking, Theo explained that he had caught a thief. Seojun, still lying on his back, was a little confused and asked Theo to clarify further. Theo insisted that Seojun should simply follow him, and he would find out everything soon enough. As Seojun slowly emerged from the cave, he was met with a sight that left him sweating with anxiety. He saw a massive buffalo-like creature, resembling a monster, staring angrily at the cave entrance. Seojun was left speechless, his face paling as he observed the intimidating presence before him. In a shaky voice, he turned to Theo and asked who this formidable figure was and whether it was the thief Theo had mentioned. Theo, perched on Seojun's shoulder with an air of confidence, remained silent. As they both stepped outside the cave, Theo hopped down onto the ground and began pointing his finger at the massive creature, ox number 3, while shouting that this was indeed the thief and that Seojun should scold him promptly. Seojun, still bewildered and unsure of how to confront the enormous buffalo-like creature, watched in confusion. Theo hurriedly retrieved the onion leaves that ox number 3 had taken and claimed as stolen. He presented them as evidence, insisting that Seojun needed to scold the creature for his actions. Seojun then realized that these were the onion leaves he had spread on the peanut seed farm to lock in moisture. Ox number 3 defended himself, shouting loudly that he had merely picked them up from the ground as they appeared to have been discarded and useless to anyone. He adamantly declared that he was not a thief. Using his observational skills, Seojun deduced that this massive creature was the black Minotaur, the same one the mama bear had warned him about. It became clear that this creature had also been responsible for stealing corn leaves from the peanut field and creating large holes in the farm during the blue moon. As Seojun was lost in deep thought, ox number 3 continued shouting in anger, emphasizing that he was an honorable warrior of the Minotaur clan and could never steal anything. Theo, bolstered by his proximity to Seojun, joined in the shouting, asserting that Seojun had not discarded the onion leaf, and ox number 3 had definitely taken them. Seojun stood in uncertainty, trying to figure out how to handle the situation. In the midst of his contemplation, Seojun had a brilliant idea, but before he could elaborate, Theo interjected. Addressing Seojun as chairman, he urged Seojun to hurry and tell the truth about whether he had really discarded the onion leaf. Seojun responded that he had not thrown them away, as they were too precious and had multiple purposes. He explained that he had spread the grass on the field to retain moisture for the peanuts to grow well. Hearing this revelation, ox number 3 was taken aback, his mouth agape in shock. Now, ox number 3 was growing increasingly nervous, and he stammered as he explained to Seojun that he thought the grass had been discarded, which was why he had taken it. He began to berate himself, questioning how he, a proud Minotaur, could have mistakenly taken something that didn't belong to him. He then humbly apologized to Seojun, acknowledging his error in taking the grass. However, Seojun had his own devious plan in mind. With a sly smile and folded arms, he responded to ox number 3, stating that mere words of apology would not suffice. He reminded ox number 3 that he had not only stolen this time, but had also previously destroyed his farm during the blue moon. Seojun extended his hand confidently and declared that ox number 3 would have to compensate him with 100 tower coins, as his business had suffered due to ox number 3's mistake, and this was the price he had to pay. Then, with a confident look, Seojun stretched out his hand and shouted, 100 tower coins! Seojun needed 100 tower coins as compensation for the mess ox number 3 made in his farmland on the blue moon night and for stealing onion and corn leaves 2 times. Hearing this, ox number 3's world turned upside down, and with a pale face in shock, he shouted and panicked, asking if the grass was that expensive. He had no idea, and he sincerely apologized from the bottom of his heart. Ox number 3 sat on the ground with a hanging mouth, depressed and not knowing what to do. He had unknowingly stolen someone else's things, and Seojun was glaring at him with an angry look. Then, pointing his hand towards ox number 3, Theo started shouting, insisting that he had indeed stolen the leaves. He demanded that ox number 3 hurry up and pay 100 tower coins for compensation. However, ox number 3 just listened silently, as he didn't even have a single tower coin. Then Theo climbed on top of ox number 3's body, tapping his muscular abs, and addressed Seojun as the chairman. He inquired about what they should do now, as ox number 3 appeared to have no money, just his underwear and his big PP. Seojun, however, maintained his angry expression, causing ox number 3 to become even more panicked and worried. Beads of sweat formed on his face as he contemplated the consequences of his actions and the impact on the pride of the entire Ox clan. Breaking the tense silence, Seojun, still wearing a confident look and a warm smile, politely suggested to Theo that there might be a solution. If ox number 3 didn't have the money to pay, he could pay with his labor. Seojun proposed that ox number 3 would have to come to him and work diligently every day, doing whatever Seojun instructed. In return, Seojun would give ox number 3 1 tower coin every day, and after 100 days, he could repay his debt of 100 tower coins. As Seojun explained this arrangement, ox number 3 listened carefully. After processing the proposal, he replied seeking clarification. So, Seojun, you want ox number 3 to work here and pay off his debt, right? Seojun, while hiding his face, explained, Yes, ox number. You got this right. On top of 1 tower coin every day, Seojun will also give ox number 3 food to eat, like the spring onion he just stole and the corn leaves he stole the other day. But it's just the beginning, as he also has many more delicious crops to give, like corn, cherry tomatoes, and sweet potatoes. Ox number can eat or even take home as much as he wants to, as Seojun is not an evil person, and he will take good care of his workers. But even before Seojun could finish his sentence, a barrage of ox number's spit started to spray at Seojun's face. Ox number 3 got really pumped up, started to drool, and took heavy breaths with his eyes wide open while shouting, "Can he really eat as much as the magical grass he wants?" Seojun, barely able to stand because of the breath and rain of saliva from ox number 3, with a warm and polite tone, while forwarding his hand, said, "Yes, ox number 3, you heard it correctly. You indeed can eat as much as your heart desires. So, let's first sign a contract. First, ox number 3 can come to work from tomorrow." Hearing this, ox number 2, happily with a smiling face, forwarded his hand and made a contract with Seojun to become his slave for 100 days, saying he is the happiest monster alive. As if he got to eat these magical leaves, he is even ready to pay 2 tower coins, and he will get to eat the magical grass for free on top of getting tower coins. It's like he is in heaven. Then, ox number 3 enthusiastically shook Seojun's hand, and Seojun, with a smiling face, also shook his hand, thinking that he had secured a good muscular worker to help dig the farmland. Ox number 3 was thinking that he had gotten a good deal. He should be getting punished, but instead, he was getting rewarded. Theo, in all of this, stood with his mouth open, bewildered, seeing Seojun's business tactics. Theo had learned another valuable lesson from Seojun, that if one doesn't have money, they can pay with their labor. He started to admire Seojun even more as he learned this valuable lesson once again. Immediately, Theo, with a serious face, took out a paper and pen, saying that he should write all this down so that if, in the future, for whatever reason, he doesn't have money to pay for something, he can offer his labor. Ox number 3 happily left for his cave, saying goodbye to Seojun with a happy smile, and Seojun and Theo bid him farewell, wishing him a safe journey. After that, Seojun turned toward Theo and with a warm smile complimented him, saying that Theo had really done a great job by catching the thief. Because of that, Seojun had acquired a great worker, and plowing the farmland would become much easier now. Theo listened to Seojun with a proud smile. Hearing this, Theo also enthusiastically asked if he really did a great job, wondering how well he had done. He thought that Seojun might make him a chairman because of his excellent work. Seojun, seeing Theo filled with so much excitement, just smiled a bit. Then Seojun turned back, crossed his hands, and smiled as he said, "Because Theo accomplished such a great achievement, I will now extend your sales cat status for a whole month." Hearing this, Theo gave a straight and disappointed look. He had been expecting to be promoted to the status of chairman and have authority over Seojun. Then, Theo, like a child, grabbed onto Seojun's legs and started to nag like a spoiled kid, saying he wanted more reward. And this wasn't fair. Seojun, getting a little annoyed, started to shake his legs, trying to remove Theo from his leg. He told Theo that he needed to get off because he only had this pair of pants, and if they tore, he would have to walk naked in the cave. And just like that, the days passed by happily. The next day, early in the morning, Seojun, with the warrior rabbit on his shoulder, got ready to hunt some crayfish. Seojun had his dagger, and the warrior rabbit had his little hammer, both glaring at the crayfishes with confidence. With Seojun's command, the warrior rabbit jumped, raising his cute little hammer, and in a single swing, they started to hunt the crayfish with ease. After a while, we see Seojun with his dagger peeling the skin off the crayfishes with great concentration. The warrior rabbit, on the other hand, was systematically killing the crayfishes one by one and handing them over to Seojun. Seojun turned back and said, "This should be enough for today." And we see a large pile of crayfish, all with their skins skillfully peeled off. Seojun was holding one of the dead crayfish, and the agile rabbit and the white rabbit were taking care of the crayfish, removing the skin easily as Seojun had made a cut for that purpose. Then, Seojun ordered the warrior rabbit to stop hunting, and the warrior rabbit happily complied, landing beside Seojun. Seojun, with a warm smile, complimented the black rabbit, saying he had done a great job and worked really hard. It seemed that the warrior rabbit's skills had improved significantly. However, something unexpected happened. The body of the warrior rabbit started to glow with a blue aura. Seojun, looking confused, asked the warrior rabbit why his body was glowing. But the warrior rabbit was equally puzzled, not knowing why he was glowing. In the next moment, the warrior rabbit's hammer began to glow, and it started to float in mid-air, shocking the warrior rabbit even more. And then, with a transformation, the warrior rabbit's hammer evolved and changed. Now one half of the hammer had a pointed cone-like structure, and the other half was flat, making it more flexible and deadly for battle. Seeing this, Seojun exclaimed in surprise, "Wow, you have evolved!" The warrior rabbit, still shocked and surprised, held the floating, newly evolved hammer, and slowly his body started to return to normal. Then Seojun, with a warm smile, started to clap and congratulate the warrior rabbit, along with the chubby rabbit, the cart rabbit, and the white rabbits. They were all genuinely happy for the warrior rabbit, and they clapped and congratulated him. Seojun commented that the warrior rabbit's new hammer looked really cool, and he was genuinely happy for him. The warrior rabbit, hearing all the praise, stood beside the pond, holding his newly evolved hammer on his shoulder, with a proud and confident look. Seojun excitedly said, now that the warrior rabbit has become a real warrior after evolving, he can handle the crayfish hunting himself, while showing a thumbs up. The warrior rabbit responded with an enthusiastic thumbs up, saying, "Leave it to me." However, the conversation was interrupted by the growl of the mommy bear. The mommy bear was signaling Seojun to come outside the cave. Seojun then stepped out of the cave, asking, "Is there any problem?" As he looked at the cave wall where the baby bear was pointing, he was shocked to see a beehive. In excitement, he exclaimed, "Is this the beehive of the new thick bee? Oh, sorry, the new queen bee." Just then, upon hearing Seojun's voice, the baby queen bee emerged from the hole in the beehive. When she saw Seojun, she had a cute smile on her face, and in the next moment, she excitedly dashed towards Seojun, calling him Daddy. This sudden revelation startled Seojun for a moment, and he exclaimed, "Is she the baby of the mommy queen bee that hatched that day?" Then, the baby queen bee came close to her daddy, Seojun, and started rubbing her cheek against Seojun's cheek. Seojun, holding her gently, also started rubbing his cheek against hers, expressing how happy he was to finally meet her. He had dreamt about this moment every day, and had been really worried, wondering where she had gone. Now, he was overjoyed to finally be reunited with her. The baby queen bee then called her own poison worker bee formation, and Seojun greeted them, complimenting the baby queen bee on how she had already started building her own little bee empire. He was genuinely impressed with her. Seojun then turned toward the baby bear and corrected himself, saying, "She is the baby of the queen bee whose honey you really like." He encouraged the baby bear to say hello to her. The baby queen bee, standing behind Seojun, curiously glared at her new uncle bear. The baby bear introduced himself to the baby queen bee, and Seojun commended the baby bear, saying that now that he had become an uncle, he had to protect the baby queen bee and take good care of her. This way, the mommy queen bee would be happy to see this, and she might give the baby bear more of her special juice to eat. The baby queen bee listened to all of this while sitting on Seojun's hat. Then, in the next moment, the baby queen bee dashed toward the baby bear and began patting her new uncle on his nose with a warm smile. The worker bee also perched on top of the baby bear, and the baby bear happily greeted and played with the baby queen bee, his heart filled with joy, and the mother bear and Seojun watched as the baby bear and the baby queen played joyfully. However, the ground started to shake slightly, and Seojun turned back to see none other than Ox number 3 approaching with a happy and warm smile. Ox number 3 greeted Seojun with a friendly hello, and Seojun returned the greeting, saying hello and good morning. But before they could exchange further pleasantries, the mother bear suddenly stomped the ground with great force, causing the entire ground to shake. This startled Seojun, the baby queen bee, and everyone present. The mother bear let out a loud growl directed at Ox number 3, and the shockwave from her roar was so powerful that it pushed everyone back. Ox number 3, realizing that he was facing the red bear that Oxkind had warned him about, got into a battle-ready position. The mother bear, with a deadly look in her eyes, was ready for a bloody fight. The atmosphere turned dark and chilling as tension filled the air. Ox number 3 clenched his fists, expanded his muscles, and stared at the red bear with utmost seriousness. He mentioned that he didn't expect to encounter the red bear so soon, but had no choice but to fight. In response, the mother bear, already furious, became even more enraged. Her eyes glowed red and she continued to growl, appearing as if she would devour Ox number 3 alive. Seeing the situation escalating out of control, Seojun tried to stop the mother bear, explaining that Ox number 3 was not an enemy. However, the mother bear was too angry to listen to Seojun's words. In her fury, she tossed Seojun, the baby bear, and the baby queen bee aside, while Seojun desperately tried to prevent a bloody fight from unfolding. Then Theo, the warrior rabbit, and the cart rabbit came outside the cave and saw Seojun lying on the ground. They asked what was happening, and Seojun, with a hint of worry and fear, explained that ox number 3 and the mother bear were about to engage in a fight. If he didn't do anything, one of them might die or get seriously injured. Seojun carefully placed Theo on his shoulder, and with a sense of urgency asked Theo to try and convince both ox number 3 and the mother bear to stop fighting. The mother bear wasn't listening to Seojun, and Theo, though a bit scared and panicked, agreed to give it a try. Seojun then started running towards the scene where the mother bear and ox number 3 were giving each other menacing glares. He continued to plead with them to stop fighting, emphasizing that the Minotaur was now working for him. The misunderstanding had been resolved, and there was no need for a conflict. The mother bear finally turned her attention towards Seojun. Despite his attempts to explain the situation and prevent the fight, the mother bear growled in anger. Theo translated, explaining that the mother bear wanted Seojun to go back into his cave. Even though the misunderstanding was resolved, she couldn't tolerate the Minotaur invading her territory without her permission. Seojun approached the Minotaur with a worried expression, trying to convince him not to fight. However, ox number 3, with an honorable and prideful warrior spirit, explained that he couldn't back down from a fight. He would rather die than back away from a battle. At this moment, Seojun was truly overwhelmed. He didn't know what to do, and he was holding his head in frustration. In this intense moment, Theo shouted to Seojun that the baby bear was asking Theo to give him some churu again and that Seojun should scold the baby bear. Seojun, feeling incredibly frustrated, was at a loss for words. To make matters worse, the tower manager started asking Seojun for food because she was bored and hungry. Seojun tried to explain to the tower manager that he was busy trying to stop the fight between the mommy bear and the Minotaur. However, the tower manager insisted that she wanted to eat because she was really hungry. Even before Seojun could respond, the baby bear was grabbing Seojun's shirt from behind, asking for churu because he was hungry. The tower manager continued to nag Seojun, saying she was hungry, and the Minotaur and mommy bear were about to engage in a fight. Seojun, at this moment, finally lost his composure. The tower manager was hungry, the baby bear was hungry, Theo wanted churu, and the mommy bear and Minotaur were about to fight. He had reached his breaking point. Seojun's whole face turned red with anger, and he shouted at the top of his lungs, "If no one listens to me, I won't give food to anyone." Upon hearing this, the baby bear's and all the rabbits' eyes widened in shock. The mommy bear turned to Seojun, her face filled with pain and fear. The mommy bear and the Minotaur, realizing they would not get to eat the delicious food, fell into a state of depression. The baby bear and all the rabbits began to scream in panic at the thought of not getting Seojun's special juicy food, and the cart rabbit was just holding his head, witnessing all the chaos. Lastly, the tower manager also started screaming, holding her cheeks, and Theo, while grabbing Seojun's shirt, addressed Seojun as Sir, and started crying out loud, apologizing and pleading not to cut his food supply. Seojun remained silent, his anger evident, and now everyone fell into silence in front of Daddy Seojun, feeling scolded like children in front of their father. In the previous episode, we saw how Seojun tricked ox number 3 into selling his body to him. Now, ox number 3 has to work for 100 days, and he will receive 1 tower coin each day. After that, he has to return those 100 coins to Seojun. Meanwhile, the warrior rabbit evolved and his hammer was upgraded. Seojun finally met the baby queen bee, and they hugged each other. However, trouble arose when ox number 3 came to work and unfortunately encountered mommy bear, leading to a fight. Seojun tried his best to stop them from fighting, but mommy bear was adamant, as she couldn't allow anyone to invade her territory. Ox number 3, driven by his pride, couldn't back down from the fight. As Seojun became increasingly frustrated with how to stop the fight, Theo, Baby Bear, and the tower manager pressured Seojun to give them food. This was enough to push Seojun over the edge, and he shouted that he would not give a single piece of food to anyone if no one listened to him. This declaration shocked everyone. Seojun, still furious with a loud voice while pointing his finger, commanded everyone to sit down. The mommy bear, ox number 3, the baby bear, along with all the rabbits and Theo, as well as the tower manager, with a sad face realizing they were wrong, sat silently without saying a single word. After that, the situation came a little under control. Today's like goal is 4,400 likes. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now let's continue. Seojun, still angry, said to both the mommy bear and ox number 3 that if both of them go on a rampage like that, not just the field and crops, but even Seojun and his other animal friends will get harmed too, so they must not fight. After that, Seojun turned back toward the rabbits and with a warm smile said, now they have to prepare a meal, as only by eating delicious food, everyone's mood will get happy and good, and it will also help in making friends between the mommy bear and ox number 3. All the rabbits replied to Seojun with a cute, yes, sir. And Seojun, while clapping his hands with a warm smile, said, well then, let's eat, shall we? With this command, the warrior rabbit started to hunt crayfish and piranhas with his newly evolved hammer. Then the sickle rabbit started to chop spring onion leaves, while the white rabbit, one by one, started to roast some mouth-watering corn on the campfire. The chubby and cart rabbit, while glaring and drooling upon seeing the roasted corn, started to transport the roasted corn and the spring onion. Seojun started to cook the meal. He first roasted some spring onions in his pan with delicious spices. Then he placed freshly roasted corn on a plate made with onion leaves and roasted piranhas wrapped in onion leaves placed on a plate also made with onion. Additionally, there was a full plate full of spring onions. Well, this was a feast. The mommy bear and ox number 3, upon seeing this delicious food in front of them, couldn't help but open their mouths in amazement and excitement with sparkling eyes. And the next moment, they dug into the feast. Mommy bear and ox number 3 were sitting next to each other in front of the array of delicious foods, and Seojun and all his animal friends were also sitting in front of the foods. Seojun politely told mommy bear and ox number 3 to eat to their heart's content. Mommy bear was about to eat, but ox number 3 had already started eating the spring onions. Seojun then picked up a plate full of roasted corn and happily handed it to the tower manager, telling him to enjoy. The tower manager thanked Seojun in advance. Ox number 3, extremely happy while chewing a piece of onion, slowly approached to pick a piece of roasted corn, but before he could pick one, his hand clashed with mommy bear's as she was also trying to pick a piece of roasted corn. Then, once again, like 2-year-old kids, they started to glare at each other while growling, ready to go on a rampage. Seojun and his animal friends were left sitting speechless. Seojun, while clearing his throat and raising his voice, said that he was going to announce something very important to make the situation calm. Seojun first came close to mommy bear, and then, with a polite tone, said to ox number 3 that this is mommy bear. She protects Seojun's cave and field, and she lives together with her cub named Hae-kyung. As Seojun was introducing mommy bear to ox number 3, she was just sitting there, still angry and breathing heavily. Then, Seojun went to ox number 3 and said, but before he could say anything, ox number 3 cut him off midway, and with an arrogant tone, said that he is ox number 3, a Minotaur proud warrior. Then, still with a polite tone, Seojun explained to mommy bear that this Minotaur is called ox number 3, and he is going to help Seojun in fieldwork. As Seojun was explaining this, Theo was just sitting on Seojun's lap, listening to all of this. Finally, Seojun, with a serious tone, explained to both of them that now that they know each other and know that they are not enemies, they have to become friends with each other and not fight in the future. If they ever even for a second fight, Seojun is not going to give them food. Well, just hearing this, both mommy bear and ox number 3's worlds turned upside down, just thinking that they will not be able to drink and eat Seojun's special juice and food. And the next moment, the once enemies started exchanging warm handshakes like they are long-lost friends. Then they clung to each other's hands and started taking oaths that they will never ever fight in the future, with sparkling eyes. Well, they were friends now. They were. This is a good question. Meanwhile, Theo was just sleeping on Seojun's lap like a king. Then Seojun, while cuddling Theo, said to ox number 3 to just follow him, and he will show what ox number 3's work is. Then Seojun brought ox number 3 to the barren field. While looking at the field, Seojun explained to ox number 3 that his work is very simple. Ox number 3 just has to dig up the ground, just like he did on the day of the blue moon, but not as rough as he did on the blue moon. Ox number 3 just has to dig a little rough and solid ground until the soft soil comes. Hearing this, ox number 3 excitedly asked Seojun if he really has to just dig the soil, and after that, he will get 1 tower coin with as much food as he can eat. Seojun, with a proud look on his face, replied, of course, he is telling the truth, as he is a very good boss who doesn't exploit his workers. After that, ox number 3 got into position, lowering his body, and Seojun and Theo just watched curiously, thinking about how ox number 3 was going to dig the soil. The next moment, ox number 3 started to shake, his body started to glow purple, and his horns started to grow big. His eyes turned big, and Seojun and Theo got shocked and surprised. With a large growl, ox number 3 dashed while lowering his head with huge horns, and as he was going forward, because of his huge horns, the ground was getting plowed. While plowing this ground, ox number 3 was daydreaming, opening his mouth and drooling excessively with sparkling eyes. He was just thinking about eating the delicious spring onions after the work. Seojun and Theo were watching him from behind, seeing how ox number 3 easily plowed the ground like a bulldozer. Afterward, finally, ox number 3 plowed the field, and the chubby rabbit, with his cart full of spring onions, brought them to Seojun. Behind him was the father rabbit, ready with his watering can, and the shovel rabbit, ready to plant the spring onions. Seojun said, "Let's plant some spring onions," and everyone was happy and excited at the same time to plant them. After that, Seojun, one by one, started to plant the spring onions in the ground, and ox number 3 was playing with Baby Bear, showing off his muscles. Baby Bear was impressed seeing the muscular ox number 3. Then, while planting the spring onions, Seojun explained that it's not difficult to grow spring onions. They only have to plant spring onions once, and after that, whenever the spring onions fully grow, all they have to do is cut the spring onions in half, and the spring onions will grow fully again from the half-cut spring onion. As Seojun continued to plant the spring onions, the system notified him that he had created a 20-square-meter spring onion field and acquired 200 XP. Finally, all the spring onions were planted, and Seojun stood beside the planted spring onion field with a proud look on his face. He was chewing on a spring onion and said, "Spring onions grow really fast inside the tower. So from now on, I will have an infinite amount of spring onions, and I can also feed ox number 3 as much as he wants." Then, Seojun turned toward the husband rabbit, who was watering the spring onion leaves. He said, "There is only one problem after that." The husband rabbit's watering can suddenly stopped working, and the husband rabbit started to slam his watering can. Seojun, with a worried face, continued, "The only problem now is that there is a limit to the amount of water in the watering can, so it's not possible to water all the crops, and we have to go inside the cave and manually bring water from the pond or wait until the watering can recharges fully." As Seojun was wondering what to do, suddenly, the husband rabbit's whole body started to glow blue. His baby watering cat rabbit came close to see what was happening, and even Seojun got a little curious and asked why light was coming from the husband's rabbit's body. And whoosh! The next moment, the husband rabbit's watering can evolved and turned golden. The husband rabbit was very, very happy with sparkling eyes and gently raised his hand to catch the floating golden watering can. After that, as the husband rabbit very happily held his new golden watering can and stared at it, Seojun exclaimed in excitement, "The watering can changed and evolved, just like what happened to the warrior rabbit. This is the second awakening I've seen." Raising both his hands, Seojun continued, "The timing is perfect, and I'm really, really happy for the husband rabbit." Then Seojun asked the husband rabbit, "Now, how much water can the husband rabbit hold?" The husband rabbit confidently showed with his finger, "2 times. Now I can hold water 2 times more than before, and I can regenerate the empty water can 2 times faster." Hearing this, while clenching his fist, Seojun exclaimed twice, "That is great." Then, while raising his hand, he started to cheer for the husband rabbit and the baby watering rabbit, saying, "Now they can continue their watering, and the spring onion will grow nicely." Meanwhile, the Minotaur king was sitting on his throne, shining and wondering what happened to ox number 3, why he's not returning for 3 days. After that, Seojun picked up all the newly born baby rabbits and put them in his bag. He then brought them outside the cave and released them, saying, "Today is the first day of the baby rabbits," and he brought them out to show them the outside of the cave. Seojun introduced the baby rabbits to the baby bear, and the baby bear, with a warm smile, gently welcomed them by holding their tiny paws. Then, all the baby rabbits came close to the baby bear's mouth and started sniffing the baby bear. The next moment, the baby bear started to lick the baby rabbits, startling them. Finally, after the licking session was over, all the baby rabbits, for a moment, just stared at the baby bear, thinking about what had just happened. Then, in an instant, all together, they jumped and climbed on top of the baby bear's chest. The baby bear, with his open hand, welcomed the baby rabbits. Then, the baby bear lay on the ground, and all the baby rabbits started to play on his chest, and some took a little nap. Seojun and Theo were watching this heartwarming moment from behind. Seojun was really happy, but Theo was not. He was angry, standing with his arms crossed. Seojun said to Theo, "Baby bear and the baby rabbit seem to be getting along, and the baby rabbit seem really happy." After that, Theo, with confidence, laughed a little and said, "I'm Uncle Theo, and the baby rabbits like me more than the baby bear." Then, to prove he is right, Theo turned and said to all the baby rabbits, "Let's go with him, as Uncle Theo has come, and now he will take them on an exciting adventure outside the cave." The baby bears and all the rabbits listened to Theo without saying anything for a moment. After a while, Theo noticed that all the baby rabbits were just ignoring him and started to play with the baby bear. The baby bear once again started to like the baby rabbits, and yes, they were really having fun. But Theo, on the other hand, well, his heart broke into millions of pieces. Theo fell on the ground with his knees and started to cry while shivering, asking the baby rabbits, did they forget their Uncle Theo? How can they forget their lovable Uncle Theo who loved them so much? How can they betray him? He started to smash the ground, saying, after all the things he went through to raise them, this is the result he got. As Theo continued to cry, Seojun couldn't do anything but just stand there silently, not knowing what to do. Then Seojun gently held Theo, saying not to be too sad. Seojun placed Theo on his lap, telling him to take a seat. The baby rabbits hadn't forgotten Theo. They were just playing with the baby bear. After that, they would definitely come to Theo, and now Seojun would give Theo some churu, but Theo was just sitting there, pouting in anger. Then Seojun, while feeding Theo some churu, asked curiously, "It's almost time for Theo to go to the lower floor to sell and trade, so why is Theo not going?" Theo, with a worried and sweet face, explained that he didn't want to go. Or to be clear, he didn't think he could go even if he wanted to. Seojun got a little confused and asked, "What does that mean?" Theo, getting more worried and panicked, explained everything that happened with him. He told how the Silver Wolf tribe attacked him. As Theo was explaining, the baby bear and the baby rabbit continued to play. Then, upon hearing Theo's whole story, Theo couldn't believe what he was hearing, that a bunch of wolves attacked because of this straw hat. Seojun wondered, was this really Luffy's hat? Theo, still a little scared, explained that this is why he can't go to the lower floor, or they will once again attack him, and he doesn't know if he will be able to come back alive. He is really scared. Seojun, on the other hand, placed his hand on the straw hat. He took his straw hat off his head and while staring at it wondered. He knows this is an artifact, but it is an unnecessary and useless item unless you are a farmer. Then Seojun realized there might be other farmers in this tower. Seojun, with a confident smile, once again put the straw hat on his head. Yes, he got a really good idea. Then, with a confident smile and a thumbs up, he said to Theo not to worry, as he really has a great idea to teach a lesson to those wolves. In the previous episode, we saw how Seojun used the ultimate power of food to tame each and every monster and solve the grand battle between the mommy bear and ox number 3. After that, ox number 3 and the mommy bear became really good friends. And then ox number 3 started his first day at his job. Just like a bulldozer, he plowed all the ground in a single day, and Seojun then planted an entire field with spring onions. Then the husband rabbit also evolved after leveling up. But then a great problem arose. Seojun noticed that Theo was not going to the lower floors to sell cherry tomatoes. When Seojun asked why Theo was not going, Theo, getting more worried and panicked, explained everything that happened with him. He told how the Silver Wolf tribe attacked him. As Theo was explaining, the baby bear and the baby rabbit continued to play. Then, upon hearing Theo's whole story, Theo couldn't believe what he was hearing, that a bunch of wolves attacked because of this straw hat. Seojun wondered, was this really Luffy's hat? Theo, still a little scared, explained that this is why he can't go to the lower floor, or they will once again attack him, and he doesn't know if he will be able to come back alive. He is really scared. Seojun, on the other hand, placed his hand on the straw hat. He took his straw hat off his head and while staring at it wondered. He knows this is an artifact, but it is an unnecessary and useless item unless you are a farmer. Then Seojun realized there might be other farmers in this tower. Seojun, with a confident smile, once again put the straw hat on his head. Yes, he got a really good idea. Then, with a confident smile and a thumbs up, he said to Theo not to worry, as he really has a great idea to teach a lesson to those wolves. Hearing this, Theo got surprised, and with a surprised face he asked Seojun, how is that possible? How can Theo possibly battle against those silver wolf guys? Guys, please, everyone who is watching this video at this point, like the video at once. I want to see how many likes this video can get and subscribe if you are new to support the channel. Now let's continue. Seojun explained that as the guys who hired the silver wolves, Theo could also hire someone to guard Theo's ass. Hearing this, Theo got surprised and excitedly, with a big smile, replied that it's actually a great idea. Then Seojun explained that being a freelance mercenary is a job that only those born in the tower, like Theo, can do. Anyone can sign a contract with a tower monster to become a mercenary. You just have to be from the tower. If you sign a contract with a client and become a mercenary, that monster will get the ability to use the passage by paying a fee, just like wandering merchants. Although one has to register as a mercenary at the mercenary office and get a badge to do mercenary jobs, there is an exception. Any monster can become a temporary mercenary if they sign a contract with a wandering merchant without any registration or anything. Seojun's idea is to make Ox number 3 Theo's guard. Seojun, with a slight smile, wished he could also go down the tower by signing a contract with Theo as a mercenary, but he can't, because only those born in the tower can do that. Hearing this, Theo complimented Seojun and said Seojun remembered all this that he told him a few months ago, and he is impressed. After that, Theo, with an excited face, asked Seojun, but how will they manage to make Ox number 3 become Theo's bodyguard? As although Ox number the 3rd of May looked like a dumb monster, he is indeed a monster from the 99th floor, so he is insanely strong compared to the lower floors. Seojun, with a smirking smile, replied that he has a great idea. He will offer Ox number 3 3 times the daily rate, which will be 3 tower coins, to become Theo's guard by signing a mercenary contract with Theo. He will also offer more onion leaves, since Ox number 3 seems to like them very much. He was sure that just the name of onion leaves would be enough to make Ox number 3 Theo's bodyguard. Hearing this, Theo instantly jumped high and took Seojun's straw hat from his head, patting Seojun's head and saying that Seojun is a real genius. Today, Theo learned yet another valuable lesson that if one can order any person by giving them food and money. Seojun, on the other hand, got a little startled seeing Theo's reaction. Then Seojun put his hat back on his head and, now feeling a little proud of himself, said that it was nothing, and in the future, Theo would also become a genius like him. Theo just had to follow Seojun, and for sure, in the future, Theo would become the most intelligent monster in the entire towers. Then Seojun took out a packet of churu and asked if Theo wanted it. Theo, wagging his tail, happily replied that he wanted it. Well, this is the power of food manipulation, my boys and gals. See how Theo is getting manipulated without even realizing he is getting manipulated. Now back to the story. As Theo happily enjoyed the churu, thinking he would definitely become a genius like Seojun without knowing he was already in Seojun's trap, getting manipulated by Seojun through the chores. Meanwhile, far from Seojun's cave, on the barren land, Ox number 3 was a little nervous and scared. He was trying to hide from someone, looking right and left. Just then, someone stamped her foot on the ground, startling and scaring Ox number 3. A rowdy voice asked Ox number 3 where he was going. And voila! Now we have a a female Minotaur, full of thickness. She was a warrior ox from Ox number 3's clan, a very strong one, let's say a muscle lady. She asked Ox number 3 why he was searching for him for 3 days and where he had been. Ox number 3, trembling and nervous, said he was just playing around, nothing special. With a single glare, the muscle lady figured out that something fishy was going on. Then, the muscle lady came close to Ox number 3. After glaring at Ox number 3 for a while with a suspicious face, she asked, "Why is Ox number 3's face shining? Is Ox number 3 eating something delicious secretly, huh?" Ox number 3 just stood there with a sweet face, unable to say a single word. The muscle lady grabbed Ox number 3's shoulder and started shaking him violently. She said she knew Ox number 3 was going somewhere secretly, and seeing how shiny his hair and muscular his body was, she was sure he was eating something delicious. Ox number 3, in front of the muscle lady, remained like a statue. Then the muscle lady, while pointing her finger toward Ox number 3, furiously shouted that if he didn't tell her where the food he was eating secretly was, she would beat the living daylights out of him. She threatened to tie him up with chains, beat him 4 times a day without giving him anything to eat or drink until he revealed the location of the food. Hearing this, Ox number 3 lost his will and spilled all the bean. He revealed everything about how he met Seojun, obtained the divine spring onion, and how he was working to pay his debt, getting 3 meals a day by doing so. The Mussel Lady got really happy and, while raising her hand, told Ox number 3 to take her to see Seojun. Without any choice, Ox number 3 agreed to take the Mussel Lady to Seojun. As they began their journey to Seojun's cave, Ox number 3 asked the Mussel Lady if she could please keep this a secret from the other Minotaurs and the Minotaur King. She agreed, saying she only wanted to eat the divine leaf and would keep it a secret until she died. Then, after a while, Ox number 3 finally reached Seojun's cave. As Seojun and Theo came outside the cave, they were left speechless and a little nervous. Standing in front of them was Ox number 3, looking scared and nervous, and behind him was the Mussel Lady. Seeing this, Seojun curiously approached Ox number 3 and asked, "Who is she? Is she Ox number 3's friend?" Ox number 3 replied hesitantly, and then the Mussel Lady excitedly introduced herself. She said hello, and that her name is Rainy Mountain. Then she asked Seojun if he's the one who said he would give food to Ox number 3 if he turned the ground upside down. Seojun confirmed that he was, and then Ox number 3, with a depressed tone, asked Seojun if he could let his friend work here too, or else there would be a big problem, a very big one. Seojun stood there observing what was going on. After thinking for some time, Seojun replied that they had already plowed all the land, and now there was no need for extra help. However, he had another idea. He asked the Mussel Lady if she would be willing to work as a guard for Theo, who was being chased by dangerous wolves. Seojun offered to pay her 3 tower coins per day for this service. Upon hearing this, the Mussel Lady got a little angry and replied that she didn't like the offer at all. She didn't want tower coin. She wanted something she could eat, not pieces of metal. Seojun was curious about the sudden change in her attitude. She had said she wanted a job earlier, but now she was refusing. He asked if there was a problem. The Mussel Lady explained with annoyance that she couldn't eat tower coin. She wanted the reward to be something edible, not pieces of metal. Seojun realized he had struck the jackpot. Just like Ox number 3, she was willing to do anything for some onion leaf. Seojun offered her 3 meals a day and delicious snacks as a bonus if she did her job properly. Hearing this, the Mussel Lady got pumped up and, in a battle-ready position, clanged her fists together, saying she was ready. Then Ox number 3, seeing this, panically asked Seojun if he also wanted to do this job. Can he? And Seojun, with a smile, though he knew Ox number 3 would also want to go seeing how the reward is food, said, "Okay, Ox number 3 can also go. With Ox number 3, Theo will be more secure. One can guard Theo while the other can battle with the wool." Then Seojun, with a gentle smile, said, "Now we will prepare some food and some snacks for traveling for their journey." Just hearing the word food, Ox number 3, and Mussel Lady got excited and started to scream in excitement, saying, "Food! Yeah!" After that, in excitement, Mussel Lady jumped and tightly hugged Ox number 3, saying thanks so much for introducing her to Seojun. Well, guys, Ox number 3, for the first time feeling the melons of Mussel Lady, started to blush a little because he is also a virgin. Now, Ox number 3, to impress his new crush, confidently said it was nothing, and if she continued to follow him, he would make sure she never ran out of food, and he promised to take good care of her. And they continued their hunt for a while. Seojun from behind was watching this romantic scene with a naughty face. After that, Seojun harvested some spring onions, and after a while he collected quite a big pile of spring onions. He said, "This should be enough for the newly loved birds, right?" Then Theo came close to Seojun and said he packed all the cherry tomatoes inside his bag and he's ready to go. Seojun said to Theo that there seems to be a problem here. Theo might have to take out some cherry tomatoes so that he can also carry the spring onions for the Minotaurs. Theo, with a smirking face while opening his cap, said not to worry. Then Theo threw his bag on top of the pile of spring onions, and in an instant, all the spring onions got sucked inside Theo's bag. In style, Theo caught his falling bag with one hand. Seeing this, Seojun got shocked and asked Theo how did Theo manage to fit all the spring onions in his bag along with the cherry tomatoes. And Theo, while showing his new merchant badge, proudly replied that now he became a senior wandering merchant, so now he can carry more things inside his bag. Hearing this, Seojun, now addressing Theo with a little respect, called his name as Senior Theo, now that he saw his badge's color and symbol indeed change. Theo, a little angry, replied that only now Seojun noticed this after he told him about it, and he is not happy. Seojun then, stretching Theo's cheeks, said, yes, he made a mistake, and he is sorry for that. Now Theo has to hurry and get ready. Now Theo, holding his cheeks, was pouting, and Seojun said to Theo that he also packed some gifts for their family. So he asked Theo to take those gifts. and give them to Dongshik's family. Theo turned back, and with a thumbs up, he said, "Leave it to me." After finally packing everything, Theo, with Ox number 3 and his new girlfriend, was ready to go. While going, Theo bid Seojun goodbye, and Ox number 3 and Muscle Lady assured Seojun that they would make sure not a single hair of Theo would be harmed. Seojun waved his hand to Theo, Ox number 3, and Muscle Lady, wishing them to be safe, leaving Theo in their hands now. The two Minotaurs also waved back to Seojun. After that, we see on the merchant alley, the road to the end of the lower floor. The wolves were keeping an eye on Theo because he had to go through this gate to go into the lower floor, so they were sure Theo had no choice but to go from here. Then we see Elka holding 3 roasted meat pieces and coming toward the chieftain, saying he brought food. The chieftain asked Elka how much more food was left, and Elka replied that this was the last of their food. The chief turned toward Elko, who was clearly bored and didn't want a guard, asking him to eat. Elko replied with a sad face that he didn't want to eat. Then Elka asked the chief how long they had to stay here. He was really tired, standing here for days, just looking at the passers-by. Can't they go back to the 85th floor? Now, hearing this, the chief became furious and grabbed Elko from his cape, shoutingly asked, "Are you going to keep saying stupid things? Have you thought about their tribe members who are starving for food for days and are waiting on the 85th floor for them to complete their mission so that they will be able to eat some food?" Then the chief's face turned really terrifying, and while growling with menacing, deadly eyes, he said, "If they don't complete the task, they will not be able to get food from Grid, the one who hired them to get the straw hat. And this mission will decide the survival of their clan, so not to say stupid things." Hearing this, Elko started crying and tearfully said he is really sorry and not to be angry. He was wrong, and he will do his job properly, he promised. Then the chief, holding his head really frustrated, said that the more they delay the mission, the more their tribe members will die because of hunger. They have to somehow find this Theo. Elko was just wiping his tears, and Elko was standing with the last roasted meat pieces. Then Elko offered a piece of chicken to Elko, saying that even if he is not hungry, he has to eat, or he will grow weak. Elko, still crying, didn't say anything. Elko, with a warm smile, said that this meat was bought with the last of the money they had, so they have to eat this to gain strength. Elko just listened to Elko with teary eyes. Then Elka also offered a piece of meat to the chief, and as the chief was about to grab the piece of meat, he sensed something and instantly turned back at lightning speed. He aggressively started to look down the stairs. Elka, curious, asked the chief what is wrong, what happened, but the chief didn't say anything because he found Theo. Theo was just below them, walking joyfully. Now the chief, growling and ready to grab Theo by the collar, said that this time, no matter what happens, he will definitely catch Theo and then get information about the straw hat.
So, that wraps up this chapter, folks. I'm concluding the video right here. Stay tuned for the thrilling developments in the next episode. And don't forget to show your support with a like and subscribe, fueling my motivation to bring you even more captivating comic chapters in the future. Until next time, happy reading!